Chapter 133, Asking for the Demoness name. Just next door? Fong Jin was surprised. What exactly happened? I heard that Qin had indeed booked the entire inn for us, but 2 people arrived a couple of days ago, Bai Qiong said. They wanted to stay at the inn. When Qin told them that the entire inn was booked, they attacked him. Then the person left 2 coins of silver on the counter and said that they would be staying here. There are indeed many dangerous individuals. Qin and his family were fortunate to survive. If those people were from the demonic sect, Qin's family would have suffered more than just a few injuries. Fong Jin sighed. But wasn't the person too noticeable? Didn't you say that peace should be valued when outside one's own sect? The person was just asking for trouble in behaving that way, said Lan Jin. Fong Jin nodded. That's true. So, junior sister Lan, you shouldn't resort to such behavior. But in situations like these, where the entire inn is booked and you just want one room, what should one do? Asked Lan Jin. You can discuss this later with junior sister Bai Qiong tonight. We need to focus on the main matter right now. There's news about Zuolan. He will appear at the marketplace tomorrow. He will be selling 3 things: information, spirit herbs, and disciples, Fong Jin continued. Selling disciples? What does that mean? Lan Jin asked curiously. Does it mean he has people for sale? Bai Qiong frowned. That might mean that the people captured recently might be related to this, said Lan Jin. It's not certain, but that might be the case. However, I don't think he'll be so bold as to announce that he will be selling disciples in the market, said Fong Jin. However, there is always a chance that he might be that audacious. We need to proceed with caution. Should we split up and approach from 3 different places? Lan Jin asked. No. Zuolan is too powerful, and it's too dangerous for you to act alone, junior sister Lan, said Fong Jin. I have already refined my spirit sword. Although my strength is not as good as yours, it's not bad either, Lan Jin said earnestly. It's not about strength. Junior sister Lan, you lack experience. Bai Qiong smiled and shook his head. They were concerned that their junior sister might attract trouble. She was still too young and reckless. Then what should we do? Should we go to the place where information is being sold or to the place where disciples are being sold? Asked Lan Jin impatiently. After a moment of thought, Fong Jin came up with a solution. Let's go to the place where disciples are being sold first. With your talent for finding people's trails, we might be able to learn more about the whole thing. By the way, Chen's family has some news that there have been some unusual activities near the Heavenly Lake outside the city, said Bai Qiong. Maybe we'll get more clues there. If we find nothing tomorrow, let's go investigate that area. After talking for a while, Bai Qiong and Lan Jin prepared to return to their rooms. Before they left, Fong Jin turned to Lan Jin. Junior sister Lan, if you happen to meet the people next door, remember to be polite to them. Making enemies rashly will only affect our plant. All right, said Lan Jin. After they reached their room, Lan Jin complained to Bai Qiong. Senior sister Bai, don't you think senior brother Fong is being overly cautious? The 3 of us are in the Golden Core realm. I alone can defeat the strongest expert from the Qin family. You and senior brother Fong are stronger than me. Senior sister, don't you think senior brother is too humble? The 3 of us are Golden Core state cultivators. It's just better to make a habit of keeping a low profile. Bai Qiong smiled. Early the next morning, Jiang Hao woke up with the nameless manual in his hands. Today was the opening day for the market. He had to go there. While dealing with his own matters, he wanted to search for Zuolan's whereabouts too. The ultimate goal was to find the stone tablet and figure out who was behind it. The person behind it probably wouldn't be someone he could handle. However, Hong Yuya might make a move at that time. Anything at or below the Golden Core realm shouldn't be a problem for him, but if it was someone in the primordial spirit realm, fighting them would be suicidal. He walked out of his room and knocked on Hong Yuya's door. Creak. The door slowly opened. Jiang Hao saw Hong Yuya sitting by the window and looking outside. The sun had not yet risen. It was just the right time to watch the sunrise from the window. The sun rose as he made tea for Hong Yuya. Senior, do you sense anything? Jiang Hao poured a cup of tea for her. Is there a courtyard here? Hong Yuya suddenly asked. Yes. There is a relatively large courtyard at the back. Jiang Hao nodded. Although he didn't know what Hong Yuya wanted to do, he would do his best to assist. She was truly powerful. He had wanted to ask about her cultivation level several times but hadn't dared to do so. If she was truly very powerful, he would have a chance of breaking away from the demonic sect without consequences. He would be truly free. However, that was just wishful thinking. He didn't know how many years he would have to wait to advance. Jiang Hao sighed wearily. There wasn't even a question of finding out Hong Yuye's cultivation realm. She hadn't even mentioned her name till now. He hadn't asked either. Jiang Hao hesitated. Lately I've met many people who keep asking me about you. I don't know your name yet, senior. Jiang Hao was being tactful. They had encountered many people on this journey, so it wasn't entirely a lie. Hong Yuye's hands paused on the teacup. She glanced at Jiang Hao with eyebrows raised. She looked amused. Just when Jiang Hao thought he had messed up, she spoke. My name is Hong Yuye. Don't mention it to others. Of course. I'm Jiang Hao, he said and bowed. He had never told her his name either. Hong Yuye drank her tea. I want to use the courtyard. Help me plant some spirit herbs, she said. What kind of spirit herbs do you need? Jiang Hao asked curiously. As for the courtyard, it shouldn't be a problem. He could just ask the inn staff to leave the courtyard alone. Most of the guests in the Cloud Inn were cultivators, which made things easier. He only needed to visit them and ask them to stay away from the courtyard. A simple display of intimidation and offering 1 or 2 spirit stones would suffice. If they still didn't cooperate after that, he could take further action. It seems that I can't avoid attracting attention outside the sect, thought Jiang Hao regretfully. Something similar to the flower you have in your courtyard, Hong Yuye said calmly. Jiang Hao was stunned. Where would he find something like that? Senior, do you mean the heavenly fragrance Dao flower? Is that a problem? Hong Yuye looked at Jiang Hao with a faint smile. However, he knew the danger behind that smile. No problem at all. He left Hong Yuye's room. A spirit herb like the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Jiang Hao pondered on it. Where would he find something like that? He thought about the time when he had substituted the red azure tea with a cheaper version. Hong Yuye hadn't really minded. Even when he served her the Snow Queen spring tea, there wasn't any problem at all. Maybe he could find a substitute for the heavenly fragrance Dao flower with something else. Jiang Hao breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't know how many spirit stones he would have to spend to find a dupe of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. It seemed like he was going to be broke again. Chapter 134. Earning some spirit stones. Leaving the inn, Jiang Hao looked around the backyard. It was quite spacious and seemed suitable for growing spirit herbs. However, the soil wasn't very good. He would need to buy some good soil and spirit liquid. There was also a back door that appeared to be frequently used, which posed a bit of a problem. Hong Yuye didn't like people loitering around her. Jiang Hao's spirit beast had suffered a lot at her hands. So far, the beast hadn't seen her because Hong Yuye always slammed it wherever to make it unconscious. After inspecting the courtyard, Jiang Hao went to the counter. Is the backyard available for use? He asked. The backyard? The innkeeper looked at Jiang Hao. If you want to use it, we can make it available. Jiang Hao nodded. I want to use it for something, but please make sure no one sets foot in there. Our inn can manage that. We'll lock the back door, said the innkeeper. Our inn is an ordinary inn, but... Jiang Hao understood what he meant. The inn was just an ordinary inn, but the residents living in it were mostly cultivators. He couldn't control the others. Don't worry about others. I'll talk to them, said Jiang Hao in assurance. How much would it cost to use the backyard? The innkeeper wanted to say it was free, but Jiang Hao earnestly wanted to pay. 1 silver per day, the innkeeper said reluctantly. Jiang Hao paid him 3 silver coins. I'll use it for 3 days. If I need it for longer, I'll inform you. Please tidy it up by today. The innkeeper nodded. If anyone tries to object, just wait for me to come back, said Jiang Hao. All right, the innkeeper said. Thank you, senior. Jiang Hao left the inn. After a while, the 3 people from the Bright Moon sect also came down from their rooms. They saw the staff cleaning the backyard. What are you going to do here? Bai Qiong asked the innkeeper. The innkeeper was nervous to see the 3 people. The guest from room 5 wants to use the backyard, so we're having it cleaned. Oh. Fang Jin was a bit surprised. Room 5 was the room next to them. Only 5 people were living on the 6th floor. Did they say why they wanted to use the backyard? He asked. I didn't dare to ask, the innkeeper shook his head. Innkeeper, I have some questions, said Lan Jin. Were you present when someone attacked this place yesterday? The innkeeper hesitated. Lan Jin assured him that he wouldn't get into any trouble. Yes, he said softly. All right. I just wanted to ask about the spell the person might have used and what you had to face, said Lan Jin. Fang Jin and Bai Qiong remained quiet. They were also curious to know about it. He used a saber. Qin Quan faced him, but the saber injured him. He remembered it vividly. How many moves did he use? Asked Lan Jin. A single geocentric lightning might have been enough to heavily injure him. Unless he is in the Golden Core realm. Fang Jin smiled. Junior sister Lan, your guess might be correct. It's better not to underestimate people. He turned to the innkeeper. Did that person try to destroy the inn? Is he the same person renting the backyard? He didn't try to destroy the inn. It seemed like he only wanted a room to stay in. He even paid for the rooms. Fang Jin nodded and then turned around to leave. Lan Jin was confused. Bai Qiong sighed. That person only wanted a room to stay in. He definitely didn't intend to cause trouble. If he used the geocentric lightning, imagine what it would have done to the inn. Lan Jin thought about it. A geocentric lightning attack might create a deep hole in the inn. She then thought of using her spirit sword. With the sword, she could injure the enemy without killing him. Maybe she underestimated the person, but he didn't seem to be stronger than her in any way. Jiang Hao landed in the forest in the west of the city. He observed the surroundings for a moment and then walked inside. He saw an ordinary market. There were many stalls in the place and people wandered about. Unlike the city, there was not a single ordinary non-cultivator here. However, the cultivation realms of the people present were generally low. Most of them were in the lifeblood refinement realm, with very few in the foundation establishment realm, and not a single person was in the golden core realm. Jiang Hao realized that his illusionary middle foundation cultivation realm might be considered top-notch here. However, being weak was equivalent to being poor. He had no money to spend on things. He needed to sell the things he had on him instead. Jiang Hao realized that there was an insurmountable gap between major sects and minor sections. As a talisman maker, even if he created numerous 10,000 sword talismans, he couldn't sell most of them. He couldn't really sell the 1,000 miles teleportation talisman. It would fetch him a good price, but it was painstaking to create. Jiang Hao asked around to confirm the pricing in this market. He found that the pricing was lower than the Heavenly Note sect. For example, a healing talisman only cost 27 spirit stones here. There were a few people who were selling talismans. He walked to a small empty stall and displayed his talismans for sale. Young man, setting up a stall here requires you to pay some spirit stones. It's not free. Someone will come to collect a fee later, said a kindly middle-aged man. Jiang Hao glanced at the man. He was in the later stage of the foundation establishment realm. Although the man was trying to conceal his cultivation realm, Jiang Hao could sense that he was a fairly strong cultivator. Thanks for the reminder, Jiang Hao said. Afterward, he displayed the foundation establishment cultivation pills he had refined, as well as some talismans and spirit swords. He even took out several divine walk talismans and laid them out for sale. Spirit concentration talisman, 10,000 swords talisman, healing talisman. Young man, how much for the healing talismans? Asked the middle-aged man. 26 L. Jiang Hao said. I'll take 5, said the middle-aged man without hesitation. It was 1 spirit stone less than the market price, but he could still make a profit from selling them. What about the spirit swords? The middle-aged man asked again. 7 spirit stones, Jiang Hao said. The market price was between 8 and 12 spirit stones. How many do you have? How many do you want? 10. Jiang Hao gave him 10 spirit swords. He had plenty of spirit swords. For a moment, the middle-aged man was dumbfounded. Where did this person come from? Did he rob a rich family? I'm Sure Xan. And you? He asked. I'm Jiang Hao Tian, Jiang Hao replied. He observed Sure Xan for a moment. Although he was dressed plainly, his energy and lifeblood were strong, and his cultivation was strong. It was a sign that he was on the right track and had the potential to reach the Golden Core realm soon. Do you have plans to strive to reach the Golden Core realm? Whispered Jiang Hao. Sure Xan was stunned by the question. Chapter 135, 3 Unusual Statuses. Sure Xan was puzzled. Jiang Hao's question seemed irrelevant. Who among cultivators didn't strive for the Golden Core realm? Reaching the Golden Core realm meant stepping onto the path of immortality. Why else would people often talk about the Golden Core realm? Ascending to the Golden Core realm was incredibly difficult, and people usually didn't make it even after striving their whole lives. Talent, resources, effort, and luck were all needed. Some people had sufficient talent but lacked resources or couldn't find a suitable master to learn from. They missed out on great opportunities. Their potential was often wasted. Although Jiang Hao had a decent cultivation technique, his master could only teach him up to the Golden Core realm. After that, no one could teach him further. There was a need for pills to be able to advance, too. Fellow cultivator, you jest. Cultivators naturally aspire to achieve the Golden Core realm, Shirexayan said. Do you have spirit stones? Jiang Hao asked. Shirexayan was on his guard. He smiled. I have about 100, not much. If I had many spirit stones, why would I be setting up a stall here? I see. Jiang Hao nodded. A late Foundation establishment realm cultivator like him couldn't possibly afford the heaven rejuvenating pill. Even if Jiang Hao focused on talisman making, it would take him a long time to save enough. The sect's resources only provided him with 20 spirit stones in the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm and 30 in the middle stage, which meant he could earn a total of 360 spirit stones in a year, 3,600 in 10 years, and 72,000 in 20 years. He could barely make it. And that's assuming he didn't spend any. Jiang Hao didn't rely on sect resources. It wasn't that he didn't care about spirit stones, but his resources had been suspended for 5 years. Only slightly over 2 years had passed after that. He sat at his stall and stopped talking. Since the person couldn't afford it, it was no use mentioning the heaven rejuvenating pill to him. He focused on running the stall and later he planned to visit some proper shops to see if he could sell the pill there. Although he would have to sell it at a lower price, it was better than selling it in the Heavenly Note sect. Shirexan was surprised to see that Jiang Hao had gone quiet. He couldn't understand what Jiang Hao had been willing to sell. He was puzzled because Jiang Hao had first asked him about the Golden Core realm and then about spirit stones. Was there a connection between the two? He couldn't understand. Shirexan was curious. What would he have said if I had said yes? After a while, Shirexan noticed that Jiang Hao's stall was doing well. He had sold almost all his wares. This made him feel restless. He had a feeling that he was missing out on something important. He kept wondering why Jiang Hao had asked about the Golden Core realm and spirit stones. Then it hit him. Does that person have something that can help me advance to the Golden Core realm? Maybe he asked about the spirit stones because he was willing to sell them. Shirexan was worried that this might be a scam. Young man, you asked me about spirit stones before. How much were you thinking exactly? Asked the middle-aged man. Jiang Hao looked at him. About 10,000. Shirexan's face turned pale. 10,000. If this really was a scam, the young man was indeed very ambitious. Shirexan glanced at Jiang Hao. He seemed to be in the middle stage of the Golden Core realm. I do have that amount. You do? Jiang Hao was surprised. Someone in the late stage of Foundation establishment realm had so many spirit stones. Do you need pills? Asked Jiang Hao. What kind of pills? Asked Shirexan. Heaven rejuvenating pill, Jiang Hao said truthfully. Heaven rejuvenating pill? Shirexan exclaimed. But those pills are for advancing to the Golden Core realm. He had been saving money for decades to buy something like that. Never in his wildest dream did he hope to find a person selling them here. Jiang Hao nodded. Shirexan pointed to a corner nearby. Can we discuss this in private? Jiang Hao nodded. After packing up, the two of them went to a corner. Jiang Hao wasn't worried about anything. He had appraised himself yesterday. He found 3 abnormalities: heaven extinguishing venomous insect and Bai Ye's spirit sealing technique, his divine ability, which was still recuperating, and Hong Yuye's magic which distorted other people's perception of him. Jiang Hao wondered what he looked like in other people's eyes. He was a little concerned about the damage to his divine ability. Unfortunately, there was no time to find a solution for that. Can I inspect the pill? Shirexan asked. All right. Jiang Hao handed him the pill bottle. Shirexan opened the bottle and sniffed. The fragrance of the pill was faint, but it was refreshing. He could even feel the stir of the spiritual energy in his body. He closed the bottle and reluctantly handed it back to Jiang Hao. How much can you give for it? Jiang Hao asked. I have more than 7,000 spirit stones, plus other items which are worth about 1,000. Shirexan looked at Jiang Hao and hesitated. I can give you 8,500 spirit stones. 8,500. Jiang Hao was a little surprised. It was 1,500 spirit stones more than he had expected. Shurexan thought Jiang Hao wasn't satisfied with the price. I know it's a little less. We can wait a bit longer. I can probably borrow some spirit stones and give you 10,000 for it. No need, said Jiang Hao. 8,500 spirit stones are enough for me. Just answer some of my questions and we have a deal. Really? Shurexan found it hard to believe. He handed the spirit stones, some pills and spirit stones to Jiang Hao. What did you want to ask? Jiang Hao was feeling a bit emotional. The pills and spirit swords would earn him at least 1,200 spirit stones. Even after he spent some money on the red azure tea, he would have an extra 1,700 spirit stones left. Do you know Zhuolan? Jiang Hao asked. Zhuolan. Shurexan nodded. He is in the market too. He is setting up 3 stalls to sell various things. On this street there should be a stall selling pills and whatnot, the one in the middle of the street is for selling disciples, and the one at the end of the street sells information. These 3 places start selling at the same time, so it's impossible to determine which one is the real Zhuolan. Or perhaps all 3 are fake. Similar incidents have happened before, but everyone believes that they are all real. Upon hearing this, Jiang Hao immediately thought of the Great Thousand God sect. These 3 people could all be clones. If the clones were present, it meant that the original person wasn't far away. It was just difficult to pinpoint the exact location. He now understood why it took the law enforcement hall so long to find the culprit who was at the Foundation establishment realm before. A stall to sell disciples? Wouldn't that be children? Jiang Hao hesitated a while and decided to take a look. It was not far away from where his stall was. Chapter 136. The Feeling of Being Wealthy. Jiang Hao set up his stall. Shurexan wasn't rushing to leave. He stayed and set up his stall as well. Jiang Hao's decision to stay and sell some more items surprised him. At noon, Jiang Hao saw that he didn't have much stuff to sell. He sighed. He had expected to make at least 2,000 spirit stones. In the end, he only earned about 1,000. Now he had 12,700 spirit stones. Jiang Hao shook his head. There was no way he could earn more in this market. Your items are very good, but not everyone can afford them, said Shurexan. Jiang Hao nodded. He had some healing talismans and some pain-relieving talismans. He even managed to sell a few 100,000 swords. Talismans. No one could afford the lifeblood refinement pills. People in the late or peak Foundation establishment realm were rare here. He had only seen one person in the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm, and that was Shurexan. After packing up, Jiang Hao prepared to leave. If you want to sell everything, you can go to the Cloud Pavilion inside. The prices there are still reasonable, said Shurexan. Or, you can continue here. I'm sure this will all be sold by tonight. Are there more people at night? Jiang Hao asked. There are indeed more people at night, but it's also more chaotic. It's easy for things to be disrupted by some ignorant young people. Shurexan sighed. Jiang Hao hesitated. Zhuolan started selling things in the afternoon, right? Yes, but he might not be selling at night. Can we set up a stall near his place? I can't, but maybe you can. I'll wait for you here anyway. If you have something to do, you don't have to wait for me. All right. Shurexan nodded. Jiang Hao left his stall and made his way to the Cloud Pavilion. It was a loft located in the center of the street. He had seen it before, so he didn't hesitate to enter. People moved about in pairs inside. They had their own little groups. The interior of the pavilion was exquisite but not as magnificent as the Snow Lotus Pavilion in the Heaven Note sect. He approached the counter. Do you buy items for recycling? The woman sitting at the counter smiled. Yes, we do. But we don't accept ordinary things. May I ask what kind of items you want to sell, fellow disciple? Jiang Hao saw that the woman was confident and efficient. It seemed that working here was quite a remarkable thing to do. He realized that most people here were only in their lifeblood refinement realm, so it made sense why working here would be seen as prestigious. He took out a spirit sword and a bottle of Foundation establishment realm pills. I have these. He had no intention of selling the talismans here. Those could be sold in the market because people always needed talismans. As for the spirit swords, he had too many of them and wanted to sell a few. Foundation establishment pills? The woman at the counter seemed somewhat surprised. These pills weren't particularly expensive, but the fact that Jiang Hao had them indicated that he might be a cultivator in the Foundation establishment realm. The woman got up. Please follow me, senior. Jiang Hao nodded and followed her. Soon, he entered a room where a beautiful woman was seated in the center. The woman from the counter explained the situation briefly and left. So, you want to sell spirit swords and foundation establishment pills? Qin Sisi looked at the sword and the bottle of pills. These pills are of average quality. We usually purchase them for 30 spirit stones per bottle. 30 spirit stones seemed a bit low. Foundation establishment pills were suitable for those in the early stage of the foundation establishment realm. In the Heavenly Note Sex marketplace, it was usually sold for 50 spirit stones per bottle. That's acceptable. Jiang Hao nodded. He then took out other pills and handed them to her. Have a look at these too. He brought out some pills used in the early stage of the Golden Core realm. He wanted to sell everything he could. The person in front of him was at the mid-stage of the foundation establishment realm. She was also very adept at examining things. Golden Core realm pills? Where did you get these? Qin Sisi seemed a bit uneasy. That doesn't matter. Do you refuse to buy them? Jiang Hao asked. The person fell silent for a moment and then began to evaluate the items. After evaluating everything, she finally quoted a price of 980 spirit stones. Jiang Hao let out a sigh. He had gotten those pills from Piao Lang. It was surprising that everything didn't even fetch him 1,000 spirit stones. He brought out a spirit sword. How much for this? That spirit sword is well crafted. We can purchase it for 5 spirit stones from you, Qin Sisi said. Jiang Hao fell silent. 6. All right, said Qin Sisi. Jiang Hao brought out 100 similar spirit swords. Here are 100 of them. Qin Sisi was momentarily stunned. She realized that the person in front of her wasn't ordinary. Can you accept them all? Jiang Hao asked. Yes. Qin Sisi nodded. In the end, they settled on 1,600 spirit stones. Combined with the 12,700 spirit stones Jiang Hao had on him, now he had a total of 14,300 spirit stones. Jiang Hao was in disbelief. After buying the red azure tea and paying the fine of the law enforcement hall, he would still have 1,000 left. Jiang Hao felt happy. The future looked promising. He hadn't even met Zuolan yet. He would have information on the other stone tablet. Perhaps he could earn more along the way. After the transaction, Qin Sisi was much more polite toward Jiang Hao. On the surface, both were at the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm. She acted a bit superior to Jiang Hao because she ran this place. However, Jiang Hao didn't mind. He had long since abandoned comparing himself to others. Being in the Heavenly Note sect had taught him to be cautious if he intended to survive. There was no room to feel such useless envy and jealousy. Even when he reached the peak of the Golden Core realm and surpassed Mu Qi, he remained calm and collected. Do you have any tea leaves for sale here? He asked. What kind of tea leaves would you like? Qin Sisi asked. We have red sleeve fragrance tea which is priced at 10 spirit stones, the Snow Queen spring tea which costs 15 spirit stones, and Azure Sky Cloud tea which is 13 spirit stones. Jiang Hao looked surprised. The teas here were so cheap. He asked to see them. After examining the quality, he realized they were all rubbish. He wouldn't dare to brew such low-quality tea for that Demoness. Do you have the more expensive version of Snow Queen Spring? Jiang Hao asked. More expensive version? Qin Sisi was a bit puzzled. Jiang Hao took out the remaining Snow Queen Spring from his pocket. This version of the tea. Do you have it? Qin Sisi looked astonished. Yes, it's upstairs. I'll have someone bring it down. She wondered where this customer had come from. He had such refined taste. Jiang Hao was handed the good quality tea after a while. That is 55 spirit stones for 250 GM, said Qin Sisi. Even for her, this was a luxury item. Paying 55 spirit stones for 250 GM of tea was something she couldn't imagine doing. She only served that kind of tea when meeting important and powerful people. Chapter 137, Ruthless. It was 5 spirit stones more expensive. However, there was nothing he could do. If he didn't buy the remaining tea leaves, who knew how long he would remain alive? Give me 7 kilograms, Jiang Hao said. Qin Sisi was stunned. She had never seen someone buy expensive tea in bulk like this. Qin Sisi regretfully told him that there was only 5 kilograms of the tea in stock right now. In the end, Jiang Hao bought 5 kilograms of Snow Queen Spring tea for a total of 1,100 spirit stones. Now he only had around 13,200 spirit stones. Do you have red azure tea in stock? He was a little curious. He had never bought the red azure tea anywhere else except the Heavenly Note sect. He didn't know how much it cost outside his sect. Our red azure tea? Chin Cece stammered. That was the most expensive tea. Only big shots drank it because it was so difficult to produce. Do you have it? Asked Jiang Hao. Chin Cece nodded. How much would that be? It's about 10,000 spirit stones. Do you want me to inform the staff to bring it down? Jiang Hao nodded. Yes, please. If it was high-quality red azure tea, the price was reasonable. Jiang Hao also looked at some spirit herbs for sale. In the end, he bought 2 clear snow seeds. It was the main ingredient for a spirit concentration pill. The heavenly fragrance Dao flower had a pleasant fragrance and gave off tranquil spirit energy. The clear snow seed was similar in nature. 1 seed cost 100 spirit stones. This spirit herb was decent. He wondered if it would drop a blue bubble when it finally bloomed. He also bought 14 bottles of spirit liquid. 1 bottle cost him about 30 spirit stones. That was 420 spirit stones spent. Soon an old man arrived in the room. He was in the peak stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Are you the one who wants the red azure tea? He asked. He didn't think a young man in the middle stage of Foundation establishment realm could afford such an expensive tea. Can I inspect the goods first? Jiang Hao asked. The old man opened the box to show him. Jiang Hao immediately smelled the aroma of the tea. The tea leaves were green with a hint of red at the edge. It was a good quality tea. What about the price? Asked Jiang Hao. If you really want it, we'll give it to you for 9,300 spirit stones. The old man didn't want to set too high a price. The tea had been sitting in storage for a long time. He was in a hurry to sell it. Jiang Hao nodded and handed him the spirit stones. Thank you. I want to take the tea with me now if that's not a problem. He had earned a few hundred spirit stones today, but he had also spent a lot of it. Now he only had 3,300 spirit stones left. Jiang Hao walked out of the cloud pavilion and ignored their surprised faces. He saw another pavilion up ahead. There were some stalls there. According to what Shirexian said, that should be the place where Zuolan sold disciples. He walked to the place and found a spacious area with many rooms. Fellow disciple, please come in, said a young man and ushered Jiang Hao inside. Are you Zuolan? Jiang Hao asked. If you think so, then I must be. The young man smiled. If you think I'm not, maybe I might not be him after all. Jiang Hao observed him for a while. He was in the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm, but his spiritual energy was a little strange. Jiang Hao thought that this must be the puppet. He followed the man to a small room. The room was small. It had some tables and chairs inside. This is the name list. The man who called himself Zuolan handed the name list to Jiang Hao. You are a bit late, fellow disciple. There are only 2 left. Jiang Hao looked at the list. There were more than 20 names on it. The name, gender, and age were all recorded. Wasn't the shop set up only in the afternoon? Asked Jiang Hao. There were 10 girls and 13 boys on the list. The oldest one was 14 years old and the youngest was 7. Jiang Hao had never seen such a thing at the Heavenly Note sect. The Heavenly Note sect would not stoop so low to buy and sell children. Of course, we started selling early because the customers were eager. Which one do you want, fellow disciple? Chunyu, female, 10 years old, low talent. Jiang Hao looked at the name list. Bruiser, male, 11 years old, average talent. Where did you find them? They were captured from the surrounding villages. I brought them here because this could change their fate in their lives. I am their benefactor if you look at it that way. They don't appreciate it though. Chunyu's parents attacked me with a hoe. They're ignorant. Zuolan shook his head and laughed. And then? Jiang Hao asked with interest. When you look at it this way, I'm actually trying to help them. The family now had fewer mouths to feed. You've really helped them a lot, said Jiang Hao reluctantly. Can you bring them both here? I want to inspect them. Fellow disciple, you're wise. They call me ruthless, said Zuolan. I mean, no person is good in the cultivation world. Those who are strong became powerful by trampling on others. Why pretend to be moral when no one is actually good? Zuolan smiled and walked out of the room. Jiang Hao sat there idle and waited. After a while, the door was pushed open. Zuolan led 2 children inside. The girl had been crying. Her eyes were red and they were full of hate and anger. Her clothes were torn and covered in what looked like dried blood. There was a wide iron ring around her neck. The boy beside her looked a bit better. He looked determined as though he understood why this must be done. He was barefooted. How much? Jiang Hao asked. 150 for the female and 200 for the male. Zuolan smiled. We've also added some restrictions to control them. No need for that. Jiang Hao shook his head. Boom. There was a loud rumble outside. Jiang Hao turned to look out the window and saw a man in the late stage of the Golden Core realm soaring into the sky. He was surprisingly fast. 3 people immediately chased after him. They were all in the Golden Core realm. Jiang Hao recognized them at a glance. It's them? He noticed that the one who was fleeing was a clone. There will always be people causing trouble around here. Zuolan shook his head and sighed. Then he turned to look at Jiang Hao. Are you here to cause trouble too, fellow disciple? Jiang Hao looked at him calmly and unsheathed his half-moon blade. A slash of moonlight appeared and everything fell silent. One strike from the blade had severed Zuolan's head. Jiang Hao slowly sheathed his saber. I guess so. Chapter 138. Friend, it seems you lack manners. The person who claimed to be Zuolan was dead. He died under Jiang Hao's blade. Perhaps he never thought that Jiang Hao would make a move. Jiang Hao turned to the 2 children. They looked at him in fear. They were terrified of Jiang Hao. I give you 2 choices. First, you can go back to where you came from and live ordinary lives. Or accept these spirit swords and stab the man on the ground. I will help you get into a sect as disciples. However, the second option is dangerous. You'll have the fear of death as long as you live. The only way to stay alive would be to cultivate and get stronger. He did not want to explain too much. He couldn't take them back to the Heavenly Note sect. However, he might be able to find a master who could accept them. Bruiser was the first to accept the sword. He gritted his teeth and took a step forward. Chunyu followed suit and accepted a sword too. Her hand trembled as she held it, but she moved slowly to stand by the corpse on the ground. They hesitated a while and then stabbed the dead man. At first they were a little afraid. After a while they vented their fear and anger on the corpse. By the time they were finished, the corpse was shredded to bits. Jiang Hao led them out. Fortunately, they didn't encounter other clones of Zuolan. Jiang Hao went to look for Shirshi. He wanted to ask him if he wanted disciples. Bruiser and Chunyu gripped their spirit swords tightly and followed behind Jiang Hao. Bruiser was silent and Chunyu cried quietly. She was physically well. The 2 children followed Jiang Hao, not daring to slow down. They knew that if they lost him now, their fate would turn tragic. On the street, Xian stayed at his stall. He saw powerful Golden Core realm cultivators chasing another person in the same realm. He was surprised to see so many Golden Core realm cultivators in the marketplace. Xian had felt the powerful presence of Golden Core realm cultivators and looked on to see them chasing each other. They were even stronger than the Qin family's patriarch. He sighed with emotion but didn't pay it much attention. As long as they did nothing to this marketplace, it was all good. They seemed to come from the place where Zuolan was selling disciples. I hope Jiang Hao is all right. Sure, she wasn't rich. He had turned even poorer after buying the heaven rejuvenating pill. However, it was worth it. By the end of the year, he would be able to attempt to break through to the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm. After that, he would attempt to break through to the Golden Core realm. Why are you setting up a stall here? Someone suddenly asked. Xian looked up and saw 3 men approaching. 2 of them looked middle-aged and the third one was an elderly man. Chief Qin. Xian stood up. Just selling some items. Qin Baishao, the patriarch of the Qin family, was a middle-aged man. He was at the early stage of the Golden Core realm. Brother, sure, if you need anything just let our people know. There's no need to expose yourself to danger here, Qin Baishao said with a smile. He then pointed to the man beside him. This is Jean, a friend of mine. Senior Jean, hello, said Xian in greeting. The fact that he could walk side by side with Chief Qin indicated that he was a powerful and important person. Jean Yuan nodded indifferently. I heard that something happened here. Do you want to come with us? Qin Baishao asked him. Thank you for the invitation, but I must respectfully decline. I promised a friend that I would hold a spot for him here, so I have to wait for him. Xian didn't want to follow the Golden Core realm experts. They were probably heading into trouble. For someone like him who was only in the Foundation Establishment realm, it could mean death to get involved in something dangerous. It was better to stay behind. Oh, come on, brother, sure, said the elderly man. We are inviting you out of pure goodwill. With 2 Golden Core Realm experts by your side, what do you have to fear? Said the elderly man. He was the same person who had sold the red azure tea to Jiang Hao in the afternoon. He had seen Chief Chen with his friend in the market, so he followed along. It seems that you don't have much influence here, Chief Chen, Jin Yuan said with a smile. Qin Baixiao's face darkened. And no, it's nothing like that. I think I'll follow along. It would be my honor to accompany Chief Chen, said Shirexan. He couldn't refuse. He was just about to leave with them when someone called him. Shirexan, are you busy? Shirexan turned around to look. He saw Jiang Hao walking toward him with 2 children. Shirexan smiled in relief. Jiang Hao Tian, you're here. I saved you the stall, as promised. Elder Qin leaned toward Chief Chen and whispered in his ear. He told the chief about his encounter with Jiang Hao in the afternoon. Seeing Jiang Hao here surprised him. When Chief Chen heard that Jiang Hao had bought the red azure tea from Elder Qin, he became interested. Friend, would you be able to accompany me inside? Chief Chen asked. And you are? Jiang Hao politely asked. He had never seen the person here before. This is the Chen family's patriarch. It would also be beneficial for you to be seen with the chief here, especially here in the market while buying stuff, said the elderly man. He thought that Jiang Hao would apologize and show some humility after hearing that. However, Jiang Hao just nodded. Jin Yuan smirked. One was right. Chief Chen's status isn't very intimidating in this place. Qin Baixiao furrowed his brow and looked at Jiang Hao. Are you busy, friend? Shirexan tried to gesture to Jiang Hao. However, Jiang Hao didn't see him. The Golden Core Realm cultivators were exceptionally strong, but Jiang Hao had no time to accompany them. He stared at Jin Yuan and sensed that he was similar to Piao Lang in his aura. For Jiang Hao, the top priority right now was to find the real Zhuolan and obtain the stone tablet. May I ask you a few questions? He spoke to Jin Yuan. Qin Baixiao's face darkened. Jiang Hao glanced at him. I apologize for taking up so much of your time. I only have a few questions. Boom. The aura of the Golden Core Realm exploded from Qin Baixiao's body. Friend, it seems you lack manners. Jin Yuan said sharply. Clang. The half-moon blade flashed with moonlight and sliced through Qin Baixiao's neck. Blood gushed out. Jiang Hao looked at him calmly. Can I now take up some of your time? Chapter 139. Hoping they don't offend the Demoness. Qin Baixiao had no time to think. The moment he saw the moonlight, he froze on the spot. It was like a scythe of death. He thought he was going to die. Fear spread from his heart in an instant, engulfing his entire body. When he regained his senses, he felt intense pain in his neck. He covered the wound on his neck and lowered his head humbly. Please forgive me, Senior. Elder Qin was stunned. He felt that it was strange and impossible for a mere Foundation Establishment realm cultivator to purchase azure red tea in such quantity. He had acted very arrogantly earlier and felt terrified. However, the one who was the most shocked at that moment was Shirexan. Was this the same person who had set up the stall near him? A person who could make a Golden Core Realm expert bow in submission with a casual strike of his blade. Jin Yuan looked at Jiang Hao and frowned. He planned to escape quietly, but an aura of the Golden Core Realm suppressed him. He couldn't move. Jiang Hao looked at him and took a step forward. He released his aura and pinned Jin Yuan on the spot. He walked in front of Jin Yuan and placed his hand on his shoulder. He exerted slight force. Jin Yuan knelt on the ground. Jiang Hao placed the half-moon blade on his neck. Are you from the Great Thousand God sect? Who are you? Jin Yuan felt the immense pressure and grimaced. Swoosh. The blade slashed across his neck. Blood gushed out. Jin Yuan groaned but did not yield. Where is Zhuolan? Jiang Hao asked again. Zhuolan. Jin Yuan looked at Jiang Hao. He seemed to realize something. You lured Piao Lang out of the city and killed him, didn't you? The things you robbed. Do you even know who they belong to? Who? Jiang Hao asked. Why should I tell you? One day he will come looking for you. You, a mere Golden Core Realm cultivator, will die. Jin Yuan sneered. You won't live long enough to see our plan come to fruition. You will face Zhuolan, and that day will be your death. In Heavenly Lake? Jiang Hao asked. Jin Yuan seemed momentarily stunned. Jiang Hao no longer wasted words. He unleashed the first form of the Heavenly Blade technique, Moonsang. The blade rose and fell. Jin Yuan was astonished. Then he was killed. Jiang Hao stabbed him twice and took his storage treasure. It was the same as the one he had obtained from Zuolan's clone. Nothing of significance was there. He only found about 200 spirit stones. The rest were just ordinary cultivation pills. After taking the spirit stones, he tossed both the storage pouch to Chunyu and Bruiser. Jiang Hao looked at Shirexan. Are you planning to take in disciples? Ah. Shirexan was momentarily stunned. Why yes, I think these two kids have decent talent. Jiang Hao nodded. He turned to the children. Become his disciples and work hard. After they were accepted as disciples, Jiang Hao turned to Qin Baishao to discuss Jin Yuan's appearance. Then he bid farewell to Shirexan. There were no more clues here. He needed to find Zuolan. Wait, said Bruiser as Jiang Hao turned to leave. Will we meet you in the future? If I pass by here I'll definitely seek your master. Perhaps we'll meet again, said Jiang Hao calmly. Jiang Hao said goodbye and left after that. Bruiser and Chunyu knelt in gratitude. Jiang Hao sighed. If Hong Yuye didn't accompany him, he would have no way of venturing out of the sect. He would have to advance beyond the Golden Core realm, otherwise, it would be too dangerous for him to venture out. If he couldn't do that, he might never leave the Heavenly Note sect ever again. Shirexan had the opportunity to advance to the Golden Core realm. As disciples to someone in the Golden Core realm, Chunyu and Bruiser had hope and potential for a brighter future. He had not only provided a safe space for Chunyu and Bruiser but also offered protection to Shirexan. Jiang Hao had done all he could. The rest depended on them. As he watched Jiang Hao leave, Shirexan felt many emotions. He was still in disbelief that such a strong individual had been by his side all along. It was no wonder he had so many treasures and pills. Qin Baishao, on the other hand, breathed a sigh of relief. He looked at the dead Jin Yuan and felt uneasy. If that person had intended to kill him, he would already be dead. Chief Che decided to be kinder when speaking to others from here on out. Otherwise, afterward, Jiang Hao walked through the streets. Zuolan would definitely be on guard after what had happened, so there was no need for any concealment. He had killed Zuolan's clones. One of them had been at the early stage of the Golden Core realm. Apart from 300 spiritual stones, there were no further gains. Jin Yuan had said that Jiang Hao would be killed by Zuolan sooner or later. Now I have 3,800 spirit stones. After paying the law enforcement haul, I'll be left with 800 only. It seems I need to visit Heavenly Lake after all. Jiang Hao walked along the road. He was frowning. Jin Yuan said that Zuolan wanted to kill me. It seemed like they were preparing for my death since I obtained the first stone tablet from Hong Yuye. They probably don't know about her existence. But Zuolan should be at the Golden Core realm. How can he kill me at the Golden Core realm? Unless, Jiang Hao frowned. Unless he has already advanced to the primordial spirit realm. Jiang Hao was a little worried about that. He had never fought a person of that realm. It's a pity that I can't use the clear and pure heart ability. Otherwise, I could try to comprehend the third form from the 7 forms of the Heavenly Blade. Jiang Hao returned to the inn. He had another question in his mind that bugged him. Jin Yuan had said that Piao Lang had been lured outside the fallen city. Hong Yuye had probably done that. Was it really a coincidence that we met Piao Lang in Fallen City? Jiang Hao couldn't be sure, but he didn't dare ask Hong Yuye about it. Senior, the backyard is now available, the innkeeper informed him as soon as Jiang Hao walked in through the door. Jiang Hao thanked him. Does anyone have any objections? No. No guest has shown any dissatisfaction with the arrangement, said the innkeeper. Jiang Hao nodded. He walked to the backyard. Everything had been cleared away. There was also a pavilion there with flowers on the ground. Now I have to plant these seeds. I'll then visit the guests and inform them. Hopefully they won't offend Hong Yuye. Jiang Hao sighed. I also have to make a trip to Heavenly Lake tonight. Chapter 140, Spending the Night in the Demoness Room. After inspecting the backyard, Jiang Hao took out the clear snow seeds. Hong Yuye wanted him to find a plant similar to the heavenly fragrance Dao flower, so he wanted to plant these fast. Even if he didn't know how long he would stay here, he had to prepare in advance. If necessary, he could take the seeds with him. He used the daily appraisal on the seeds. 3 days. No blue bubbles then. The black lotus flower had given him a blue bubble, but he had to water it for 7 days. This spirit herb only took 3 days to germinate, which meant that it might give him only green or white bubbles. However, they might not stay here for that long. Perhaps if they found Zualan tonight and obtained the stone tablet, they would have to rush to other places. After we get the 3 tablets, it would be convenient if combining them could pinpoint the exact location of the next tablet. Jiang Hao planted the seeds and watered them with spirit liquid. He then headed to Hong Yuye's room. While he was at the door, a young girl approached him nervously. "Should I clean this guest room?" she asked. "Clean room 5. Leave this room as it is." The girl nodded and went to clean Jiang Hao's room. Jiang Hao knocked on the door and entered. He didn't dare to let anyone inside Hong Yuye's room. He didn't want to make her unhappy. "Any clues?" asked Hong Yuye, looking out the window. She was wearing a red and white dress. She sat by the window. Jiang Hao didn't dare look at her directly. The heaven extinction goo poison did unimaginable things to his heart. "I did find something, but the 3 Zwalans turned out to be all clones. It seems like he knows about your arrival, Senior. He is currently planning a counterattack." Jiang Hao hesitated for a moment. According to a disciple of the Great Thousand God sect, Zualan might have even surpassed the Golden Core Realm. Hong Yuye was silent. "There might be something near Heavenly Lake that connects to Zualan's plans. I plan to go there and find out tonight." "What about the stone tablet?" asked Hong Yuye. "No news yet." Jiang Hao shook his head. "And the courtyard?" "It's ready. I planted the seeds too. They should germinate in 3 days." Hong Yuye slowly turned to look at Jiang Hao. She seemed intrigued. "What kind of seed did you plant?" Jiang Hao lowered his head. "It's a flower similar to the heavenly fragrance Dao flower." "What's its name?" she asked. "Clear snow seed," Jiang Hao said in apprehension. Jiang Hao half expected her to slam him against the wall, but she didn't speak and just poured tea for herself. He had no idea what she was thinking. He felt relieved. At least he wasn't flung into a wall. That was an improvement. While drinking tea, Hong Yuye took out a small box and placed it on the table. "I won't make you do things for me for nothing. This is for you." Jiang Hao was surprised. He thought she would give him something after all this was over. He approached the table and picked up the box. He sat down on the empty chair to examine it. When he opened the box, a refreshing fragrance wafted out. It was a snow-white pill that he had never seen before. Even just the scent of the pill made his blood and spiritual energy surge. "Is it a pill to help me advance further?" wondered Jiang Hao. "Maybe she is giving it to me because I mentioned that Zualan might be beyond the Golden Core Realm. Maybe I'm supposed to take the pill and advance and defeat Zualan by myself." He wondered how much this excellent pill could be sold for. But first he needed to know the name of the pill. He looked at Hong Yuye. "What kind of pill is this?" "Try taking it and see." Hong Yuye casually sipped her tea. Jiang Hao took out the pill. It felt cold in his hands. He placed it in his mouth. In an instant, the cold feeling spread in his mouth as the pill dissolved. The coolness traveled down his throat and spread throughout his entire body. He suddenly felt cold all over as though it was winter. The coolness rushed to his mind. It opened up his thoughts and countless sparks of impulses collided in his mind. He felt clear and empty. On a whim, Jiang Hao activated his clear and pure heart ability. The chilly sensation rushed to the ability in an instant. The previously damaged clear and pure heart ability gradually began to heal. So, this pill is meant to repair the clear and pure heart ability. Without that particular ability, his progress had been stunted. He couldn't comprehend the third move of the Heavenly Blade, no matter how many times he studied the 7 forms of Heavenly Blade. He was curious as to how Hong Yuye had discovered that his clear and pure heart ability was damaged. Was it because of the Nameless Manual? In that case, he had to further study the Nameless Manual to better assess his enemies in the future. Afterward, he let go of his thoughts and began to heal. After a while, Jiang Hao completely absorbed the pill. Not only did his clear and pre-heart ability recover but also surpassed its previous state. Once his condition was stabilized, he slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was Hong Yuye sitting across from him, drinking tea. Then he noticed the sunlight filtering in. The light fell on the side of her face and a gentle breeze swayed her hair. It was difficult for him to breathe. He finally collected his composure enough to see that it was already dawn. He was surprised. Had he taken the whole night to absorb the pill? "Is it already morning?" "I thought you were an overly cautious person," said Hong Yuye. "Why did you take the pill without any questions this time?" I figured that if you intended to harm me, you wouldn't have to go through all that trouble." He couldn't refuse anyway. The heaven extinction goo poison was a testament to that. It was better to just grin and bear it. If he kept her happy, he would suffer less. Hong Yuye glanced at Jiang Hao. "Continue to investigate the stone tablet," said Hong Yuye, putting down her teacup. "If there is no progress regarding this, you know the consequences." "I understand, senior." Jiang Hao stood up and said his farewell. Then he brewed another pot of tea for Hong Yuye. "Buy some snacks for me," said Hong Yuye. Jiang Hao nodded and didn't dare to ask what kind of snacks she wanted. If he didn't ask, he could decide on his own. If he dared to ask her, she would choose something exorbitantly expensive. Jiang Hao's spirit stones would be gone in an instant. "I'm going out for a stroll tonight," Hong Yuye said. Jiang Hao understood that she wanted him to accompany her. He agreed to it and then headed to his room. As soon as he closed the door, he saw the young girl cleaning the corridor. He had seen her yesterday. She was startled and quickly lowered her head to apologize. Jiang Hao didn't mind. He prepared to go out to buy some snacks for Hong Yuye. He bought ordinary pastries. He tasted them before buying them. He knew they were good enough. As expected, Hong Yuye did not say anything. After that, he went to the backyard and watered the seeds with spirit liquid. In the backyard, Jiang Hao saw a little girl watering the flowers under the pavilion. When she saw Jiang Hao come in, she bowed to him. "Sir, did you plant this for your wife? She must be very happy to see it," she said. The sudden question made Jiang Hao break out in a cold sweat. He calmed himself and looked at the girl. She must be around 12 years old. He did not understand why a child would ask something like that. Then he realized something. He had seen her twice. Yesterday she had asked him if she could clean the rooms. This morning she was outside cleaning the corridors when he came out of Hong Yuye's room. Jiang Hao had stayed in Hong Yuye's room for the entire night. A man and a woman in one room? The little girl might have misunderstood. Chapter 141. Explaining that he and the Demoness weren't a couple. Jiang Hao lowered his head. The girl had misunderstood. Nothing had happened in that room, and Hong Yuye wasn't his wife. He wanted to clarify, but he realized that it looked suspicious. Even if he said they weren't married, the fact still remained that he had been in her room for the entire night. Jiang Hao suspected that the young girl would misunderstand it even more if he tried to explain further. It was troublesome. He couldn't kill her to silence her anyway. He let out a sigh. "Do more work and ask fewer questions. That way you'll create fewer problems for yourself. Asking too many personal questions might get you into trouble with other guests, you know." The young girl seemed to realize that she might have said something wrong. She lowered her head. "Yes, I understand. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. The guests staying at this inn are not ordinary people. You shouldn't ask or gossip about their personal lives. Do you understand?" asked Jiang Hao in a gentler tone. I understand," the young girl said, lowering her head. Jiang Hao took out a copper coin and handed it to her. "Here, take this. Thank you." The young girl accepted the copper coin. Jiang Hao nodded and then left the backyard. Before leaving, he instructed her not to disturb the soil around the spirit herbs. As for the matter of what she thought was between him and Hong Yuye, he didn't care. She was just a child with a passing curiosity. She would forget it in a day. However, if Hong Yuye happened to know about it... Last night I regained my divine ability but missed the chance to visit Heavenly Lake. I wonder if I'll find anything there now. On the bright side, my clear and pure heart ability is back. I can start studying the third form of the Heavenly Blade. It had taken so long for him to learn the third form. He could finally master it. However, it would take a few more days. He was still just curious about the pill that Hong Yuye had given him. What exactly was it? Its effects were surprisingly good. It would probably cost a lot of spiritual stones to buy one. Keeping a pill like that would definitely be a wise choice. Other people rarely possess divine abilities, but he had 3 of them. If he experienced something that damaged his divine ability, it would be difficult to fight. Divine abilities were useful, but excessive use could damage them. Once damaged, they needed to be nurtured for a long time to get them to their full potential. He hadn't asked the name of the pill. He just needed to resolve the matter fast and return to the Heavenly Note sect to investigate. He left Heavenly Earth City and headed toward Heavenly Lake. Heavenly Lake wasn't far from Heavenly Earth City. Otherwise, he never would have dared to venture out of the city on his own. In front of a massive building he saw some guards. They were two cultivators in the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm. They appeared to be in their 30s. They seemed relaxed. Occasionally they exchanged a few words with each other. It seemed like they were not very enthusiastic about guarding this place. Jiang Hao passed by them and entered the building. The entrance led to a wide and spacious area. In the center there was an altar stained with blood. Jiang Hao touched the bloodstains. They were still fresh. This is recent. Jiang Hao recalled Zuolan, or at least his clone whom he had dealt with at the market. Maybe this was Zuolan's doing. Upon careful observation, he noticed that the altar was different from the building. It seemed recently constructed. He activated daily appraisal. Jiang Hao sighed warily. Waiting a few more days wasn't a problem, but by then the enemy would advance to the primordial spirit realm. I need to find him before that, or I can't face him. Jiang Hao walked up to the altar and saw the place where the stone tablet was supposed to be placed. He wondered if he could also obtain the power of the primordial spirit realm if he placed his stone tablets there. However, this kind of power would likely come with side effects. I wonder if the temporary owner of the stone tablets is the person Hong Yuye is looking for. According to what they knew so far, there was only one owner behind each stone tablet. The appearance of those from the Great Thousand God sect in the Heavenly Note sect had something to do with the owner of the tablets. I don't know if he is from the Great Thousand God sect, or he is only pulling their strings. Jiang Hao didn't know anything for sure right now. The only way he could find out the truth was by capturing Zuolan. As for the whereabouts of Zuolan, it was still a mystery. After hesitating for a moment, Jiang Hao decided not to destroy the altar. If he did, he might not be able to find Zuolan. This was a fairly safe place to lure Zuolan. I should find Fang Jin and the others and ask them not to stir up trouble for now. He worried that Zuolan would keep delaying his plan if Fang Jin and his group continued causing trouble. If that happened, it was very likely that the 3 months he had would be wasted. After leaving the building, inspected the surroundings. He discovered some formations and hidden traps. There were restriction traps and talisman traps. It would be so easy to fall into such traps if one was not aware. Jiang Hao carefully noted down each trap to prevent any mishaps when he came back here in 9 days. Unfortunately, he had very few items on him, and his proficiency in formations was almost non-existent. Otherwise, he could have utilized these traps to his advantage. This was an unavoidable situation. He had been practicing cultivation for over 10 years, but only recently had started learning talisman making. The time was too short to learn other things. The most pressing matter was to focus on improving his cultivation for now. Jiang Hao went to the backyard after he headed back to the inn. Looking at the yard with scarce spiritual energy, he felt that it would be better to buy some spirit herbs directly instead of cultivating them. This way, the fragrance could cover the surroundings immediately, and the spiritual energy could gather quickly. Unfortunately, transplanting spirit herbs often led to unexpected problems. Moreover, they were very expensive. After hesitating for a moment, Jiang Hao used some spirit stones to arrange a gathering formation in the surroundings. That way, spirit stones would act as a substitute for insufficient spiritual energy. After setting the formation, Jiang Hao looked up at the sky and realized that it would soon get dark. He needed to go up and find Hong Yuya. Just as he had returned to the lobby, he heard someone complaining. "We almost found him. Zuolan has some treasures on him. Otherwise, I would have definitely found him through his clone," Lan Jing complained. "Not finding him in person is not a big deal. It's a pity that we couldn't find out where he's holding the captives. Let's go to the Heavenly Lake tomorrow and see if there are any other clues," Bai Qiong said. "I don't know who killed all of Zuolan's clones. Otherwise, we wouldn't have lost all the leads," Lan Jing said angrily. At that moment, they noticed Jiang Hao coming out from the backyard. The three of them were taken aback. Jiang Hao looked calm and collected as always, but deep down he felt embarrassed. They were complaining about him. He had killed Zuolan's clones. Chapter 142, Risking One's Life for a Cause. Fellow disciple Jiang? Fang Jin was surprised. Seeing Jiang Hao coming out of the backyard, he understood that the person living next to them on the 6th floor was him. With his strength, it wasn't surprising that Chen had been injured. Fang Jin was certain that Jiang Hao wasn't in the Foundation establishment realm after all. "Fellow disciple Fang," Jiang Hao said politely. Since they had met, he needed to discuss something with these people. "Just happened to drop by?" Fang Jin pointed to the seat next to him and invited to sit down. The first floor was the dining area, equipped with many tables and chairs. The inn wasn't receiving many guests lately, so it seemed spacious. If someone came into the inn to cause any problem, the staff explained the situation to them politely. They didn't want to offend someone like Jiang Hao again. Lan Jin looked at Jiang Hao with curiosity. She also thought that the person living next door was Jiang Hao. She was very curious about his true strength. Logically, he shouldn't be much stronger than her seniors. If she challenged him, it would seem presumptuous. Fang Jin and Bai Qiong would definitely criticize her for being reckless. If it were within the sect, it wouldn't matter. She decided to observe him silently. "Friend, when did you arrive?" Fang Jin asked casually. "We arrived just 2 days ago. We are staying in rooms 1, 2, and 3. I arrived a day or two ago too. We are staying in rooms 5 and 6. At this moment, a plate of cold dishes and peanuts were placed on the table. These were to serve as appetizers as they waited for the main dish. "Did you have them tidy up the backyard?" Lan Jin asked. "Yes. I came to request you to not disturb the backyard for a while," said Jiang Hao. "Friend Jiang, you are too polite," Fang Jin said. "We'll certainly not disturb the backyard. But we are curious though. What are you doing in the backyard?" "I'm planting some spirit herbs because I'll be staying here a while," said Jiang Hao. "Is it for the woman who travels with you?" Bai Qiong asked. Jiang Hao nodded. He didn't know how to introduce Hong Yu yet to them. "Should I call her a senior sister?" thought Jiang Hao. "I don't know if Hong Yuye will get angry if I tell them about her." He just nodded and didn't say anything further about her. He could come up with something if they asked next time. Jiang Hao was surprised to know that these 3 people stayed in the rooms next to them. It was just as well. He could talk to them about matters concerning Zuolan. "What brings you here this time?" Fang Jin poured a cup of tea for Jiang Hao. "Are you here because of Zuolan?" Jiang Hao asked straightforwardly. "I know you've been chasing Zuolan. Did you find any new clues?" The question caught the 3 people off guard. "Did you kill Zuolan's clone?" asked Lan Jin suddenly. Jiang Hao took a sip of tea. Unfortunately, sometimes he acted too recklessly. Fang Jin and the others were also curious, but they didn't question him further. It was best if all of their paths overlapped somehow. It was even better for them to be on the same side. If not, they wouldn't cause trouble for one another. Jiang Hao put down his tea. Zuolan was supposed to appear by the heavenly lake for the final ritual. But because you caused trouble for him, he is going to do it in 9 days. If he doesn't show himself, will you be able to find him in another way? Fang Jin and the others were alarmed at that. "Do you know where Zuolan is?" "I don't know. I only know that 9 days later, he will appear at the altar by the heavenly lake. The person you're looking for will probably also be there," Jiang Hao said. If he knew where Zuolan was, he would have already gone ahead and dealt with him. "Do you want us to refrain from doing anything in these few days?" Bai Qiong asked. "You can consider visiting Heavenly Lake first before considering my suggestion," said. Fang Jin nodded. "We will seriously consider that. Could you please provide more details, friend?" "The altar requires the fresh blood of talented young boys and girls with cultivation potential. In the final ritual, the children will be present," said Jiang Hao. "So, I'm guessing that the disciple who has been taken away from your sect will be at the altar on that day." However, there was one thing he couldn't figure out. Zuolan was just a golden core cultivator. How were the people of the Bright Moon sect unable to locate him? Jiang Hao hesitated for a while and then asked them. "We are also somewhat puzzled." Bai Qiong frowned. "At first, we suspected that there might be powerful individuals among them, but it doesn't seem like it. Then we speculated that there might be magical abilities or treasures hiding our disciples' location. Recently, one of our senior uncles was intercepted by people from the Heavenly Saint sect, who are close to Zuolan's group. It's also possible that they were the ones who attacked." "There is another possibility. Do you know the origin of Zuolan?" Fang Jin asked. Jiang Hao took a sip of tea and said calmly, "The Great Thousand God sect." "You have good insight. We also came to this speculation after encountering his clone. It should be the Great Thousand God sect's clone," said Fang Jin. "The Great Thousand God sect is located in the Milky Way Sea region. If they are here, they must be helping someone. The Great Thousand God sect was originally driven to the Milky Way Sea region by our Bright Moon sect. So, it's possible that they can locate our sect easily." Jiang Hao nodded. This was the first time he had heard of this. Among these possibilities, What worried him the most was the connection to the Heavenly Saint sect. He had a hostile relationship with them. These people seemed to be convinced that he knew the secret of the treasure hidden in the mine and wanted to extract that information from him. Even senior sister Ming-Yi, the saintess in training, couldn't do anything about it. In the future they might just hunt Jiang Hao down. But there was still time. If 10 years were not enough, then 100 years. One day they would understand that Yan Hua had not revealed the secret to anyone. After talking for a while, Jiang Hao headed to his room. Jiang Hao also learned that the seniors from the Bright Moon sect would be arriving soon. He had already decided to give up on the mission of the Law Enforcement Hall. These people were relatively easy to get along with. For the Bright Moon sect to go to such lengths for a disciple who hadn't even entered the sect yet, it would be troublesome if Jiang Hao stole one of their disciples who was already a member of the sect. In a demonic sect, anything was possible. Upstairs, Jiang Hao visited every guest one by one. He requested them to stay away from the backyard for the time being. Chen Quan and the others assured him that no one would disturb it, and even said they would keep an eye on it. This made Jiang Hao feel a bit embarrassed. He gave them a bit of the Snow Queen spring tea as thanks. Chen Quan didn't want to accept it, but Jiang Hao had already left. He reluctantly kept it. Chapter 143, How to Introduce the Demoness. In the backyard, the sky had already darkened. It was livelier outside today. Jiang Hao had heard from the innkeeper that it was the Lantern Festival, which occurred once every 3 years. "Senior, when do you plan to depart?" he asked. At this moment, Hong Yuya was sitting in the pavilion and looking at the surrounding flowers. She was lost in thought. Finally, her gaze fell on the spot where the clear snow seeds were planted. "When will they sprout?" she asked. "Maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow," Jiang Hao said. In truth, it would be the day after tomorrow. Tomorrow was the last day of watering it, but he didn't want to be too specific in his response. Hong Yuya slowly stood up and looked at Jiang Hao calmly. "How long do we plan to stay here?" she asked. "At least 9 days, Jiang Hao said. During the 9 days, he intended to search for clues while studying the third form of the Heavenly Blade technique. He needed to be well prepared to deal with Zuolan. According to his plan, he wanted to defeat him before he advanced to the primordial spirit realm. However, nothing ever went as planned. Therefore, he needed to be adequately prepared just in case. Hong Yuya didn't say anything. She simply walked outside. "Senior, are you going to see the lanterns?" Jiang Hao asked as he followed. Hong Yuya glanced at him but remained silent. Jiang Hao was surprised. Her gaze mocked him. It seemed that Hong Yuya had other reasons for going out. Watching the lanterns float in the sky was simply beneath her. Jiang Hao noticed that the city was brightly illuminated tonight. People were bustling about, talking to each other and having a good time. It reminded him of his childhood. His stepmother, despite her flaws, had taken him along to similar festivals. Back then he was too young to work, so his father would carry him on his back. He remembered watching the fireworks once. It moved his heart to the core. During this journey, he had experienced many things that he couldn't have fathomed if he stayed inside the sect. The half a year he had spent to controlling his mind couldn't compare to the progress he had made on his journey. He had a feeling that once he found his stepmother and his father, his state of mind would undergo another transformation. Would he be able to let go at that time? He didn't know. But it was precisely because it was unknown that he needed to see, to experience, and to comprehend. Hiding in the sect would do nothing for his maturity. Only by immersing oneself in the world could one transcend it. At that moment, a pleasant, bird-like voice sounded beside him. "Do you often daydream?" "No, of course not. Though there are so many people here tonight, so I was just thinking about how to guide you through the crowd," said Jiang Hao hurriedly. "It's not a coincidence that you encountered the deceptive spirit beast." Hong Yuya chuckled. Indeed, it wasn't a coincidence, thought Jiang Hao. It's because of the heavenly fragrance Dao flower. Jiang Hao felt that there was nothing wrong with raising the spirit beast. In fact, he might raise another one if he encountered it somewhere. After fully awakening its bloodline, he would let it go. The spirit beast was full of lies. It would someday get Jiang Hao in trouble. "What do you think is the fundamental difference between you and your spirit beast?" Hong Yuya asked as they walked along the road. She walked a little ahead. Although there were many people on the street, the path was always free and spacious for her. It was as if the people around them were actively avoiding them. Jiang Hao didn't pay much attention to it. He wasn't surprised. "The difference should be quite obvious," Jiang Hao said. Well, let's just say it is for argument's sake, said Hong Yuya. She stopped in front of a mask stall. Senior, do you want one? Jiang Hao asked curiously. Hong Yuya shook her head and continued walking forward. The place was very lively. Children ran around and laughed. You can't catch me. You can't catch me. You little rascal, if you get lost, you'll cry again. Jiang Hao watched as a young woman scolded a little boy while chasing after him. I wasn't like this when I was a child. Jiang Hao couldn't help but compare his childhood to the happy children. He then shook his head slightly. He felt pathetic that he was comparing himself to a child. He followed Hong Yuya until they walked out of the crowd and arrived at a pavilion by the river. Lanterns were hanging around. Some lanterns on the river drifted by. They hadn't carried any teapot or stove, so they couldn't make tea here. They could only look around. After hesitating for a moment, Jiang Hao looked at Hong Yuya. Senior, would you like to release a river lantern? Hong Yuya looked at him with her beautiful eyes. Her eyes mocked him. It seemed to call him childish. They just looked around the pavilion quietly. A gentle breeze rustled past. The edges of Hong Yuya's dress swayed gently in the wind. Jiang Hao could smell a faint fragrance. The distinctly familiar scent made him recall the first time he had sensed it. That the night when... Jiang Hao stopped himself. He was afraid to think about that night. How did you introduce me? Hong Yuya suddenly asked. Jiang Hao was confused. Didn't you say someone asked you about me? Hong Yuya stared at Jiang Hao. How did you introduce me? Jiang Hao thought of that little girl who had been cleaning the corridor. Did she hear about it? He broke out in a cold sweat. I haven't introduced you yet, Jiang Hao said. He hadn't mentioned her to anyone yet. How do you plan to do it? Hong Yuya sounded as though she was mocking him again. Senior, what do you think would be a suitable response? Asked Jiang Hao. However, questioning her back seemed to make her irritated. He felt a stifling force that seemed capable of obliterating the entire city in an instant. Jiang Hao hastily spoke up. I'll wait for them to ask again. The aura completely vanished. Hong Yuya didn't ask him anything further. Young Master Qin, look over there. There's a pavilion from where we can watch the river lanterns. Laughter came from nearby. Jiang Hao turned to see a group of people approaching the pavilion. There was a man and a woman at the front, followed by some attendants. The woman was the one who had spoken. Oh, there are people up there, said the woman regretfully when she saw Jiang Hao and Hong Yuya. What a pity. She looked at the young man beside her, who was most probably young Master Qin. Jiang Hao also looked at the man. He wasn't an ordinary non-cultivator. He was at the 5th level of the lifeblood refinement realm. When young Master Qin noticed Jiang Hao looking at him, he instinctively gestured for his men to shoo them away. However, when he sensed Jiang Hao's cultivation realm, he stopped the attendants, turned around and slapped the woman across the face. You know there are people here, and yet you want to interrupt them? This slap left the woman stunned. Jiang Hao sighed, feeling that these people were less interesting than the people on the street. Let's go. Hong Yuya stepped away from the pavilion. Jiang Hao nodded and followed. Where do you want to go next, senior? To release the river lanterns, Hong Yuya said. Jiang Hao was speechless. I thought she saw it as childish. Chapter 144, Making a Wish. Hong Yuya walked along the riverbank with Jiang Hao. She headed toward the crowd. There were stalls selling river lanterns. If they wanted to release lanterns, they had to go there and buy one. As for the young master of the Chen family, Jiang Hao didn't pay much attention to him. He was just a little curious. The gaze of the people here was distorted by Hong Yuya's power. What had the people seen when they looked at the pavilion? Out of curiosity, he asked Hong Yuya. However, Hong Yuya just glanced at him with an icy smile and said nothing in reply. He felt uneasy. His heart raced. He approached the river and looked at his reflection in the water. He saw his normal self. It seemed that he was unaffected. Jiang Hao couldn't figure out Hong Yuya. He didn't know how she would distort her appearance in the eyes of the others while remaining as she was at that same time. But it didn't matter. At least he was safe. He still had things to do. As long as he was careful, there shouldn't be any grave consequences. After a while, they reached the upper part of the river. The area was wide and many people were holding river lanterns in their hands. There were stalls that sold various types of lanterns. Hong Yuya found a spot to sit and wait, while Jiang Hao picked 2 lotus-shaped lanterns. He handed one of the lanterns to Hong Yuya. I heard from the merchant that releasing river lanterns is a tradition where you wish and pray for blessings. Senior, do you want to make a wish? Hong Yuya looked at the lotus-shaped lantern in her hand. She smiled. And who do you make a wish to? The river god, said Jiang Hao. You want me to make a wish and pray to the river god? Hong Yuya looked into Jiang Hao's eyes. She looked amused. Jiang Hao felt helpless. Maybe we can make a wish and pray to the heavens instead. Perhaps she found that more acceptable. What is your wish? She asked. Mining? He didn't say that out loud. He lowered his head. Most of the time, I just wish for a quiet and peaceful life. Is it not peaceful now? Hong Yuya asked, sitting by the riverbank. Under your protection, it has indeed been peaceful, Jiang Hao said. It was only a partial truth. It was true that he was safe from formidable enemies, but he didn't entirely feel safe from Hong Yuya herself. He also sat down by the riverbank and released the lantern on the river's surface. When it came to making a wish, he felt a little lost. Memories of childhood flitted in his mind. It seemed that what he truly cared about was his family. Mining and cultivation were something he could strive to achieve on his own. He had always done that his whole life. There was no need to make a wish about those things. Only his stepmother and his father were something he couldn't reconcile with. So he wished to see them. I wonder if my stepmother will still treat me badly after seeing what I have become. He released the river lantern and it floated downstream. Hong Yuya also let go of the lantern in her hand. Jiang Hao stole a glance at her. She seemed as quiet and calm as ever. After that, the two of them stood up and watched the lanterns drift away downriver. So many lanterns covered the surface of the river. It looked resplendent and beautiful. Let's go back, Hong Yuya said. Jiang Hao sensed that her mood wasn't that good. She seemed to have something on her mind. They turned around and slowly walked back to the inn. The way was crowded and it took them quite some time to reach the inn. After Hong Yuya went back to her room, Jiang Hao opened his own room door. He looked at the moon outside the window. The little outing was indeed for the Lantern Festival. Jiang Hao was somewhat puzzled. It's better that way. Whatever Hong Yuya intended to do would be too fatal for this city. As for him, he had actually gained quite a lot tonight. When he had made a wish on the lantern, he had understood many things about himself. He remembered a world that was plentiful and then was hit by a famine. He realized that natural disasters tore families apart. With a sigh, Jiang Hao sat on the bed and took out the 7 forms of the Heavenly Blade book. After adjusting his state, he activated the clear and pure heart divine ability. He felt at peace and his thoughts were clear. H found answers to many of his doubts at that moment. This time he could truly comprehend the 3rd form of the Heavenly Blade. Early the next morning, Jiang Hao wearily closed the book. His progress had been quick this time around. He vaguely felt that his mastery of divine abilities had become more efficient. It meant that his abilities had improved too. The pill given by Hong Yuya was excellent. Whether it was pills, formations, or techniques, everything that came from her was exemplary. But Jiang Hao felt a little regretful. He probably couldn't afford such a pill. Putting away the book, Jiang Hao went to the backyard to water the spirit herbs with spirit liquid. It would sprout tomorrow. Maybe bubbles would appear too. He then went out to buy some snacks. On his way back, he saw the little girl from before. She was holding some snacks in her hands which smelled very delicious. Little girl, Jiang Hao called out to her. The girl raised her head to look at Jiang Hao. Yes? How can I help you? Where did you buy those snacks? Jiang Hao asked. These. The girl showed him the snacks in her hands. I bought them from Granny Sue on the street. They're the most delicious in the entire Heavenly Earth City. Jiang Hao thanked her and hurried out again. In the eyes of the little girl, Jiang Hao loved his wife so much. Jiang Hao placed 2 types of snacks in front of Hong Yuya. One looked good and tasted decent, while the other was more delicious but looked a little ordinary. He didn't know which one Hong Yuya would like to eat. Jiang Hao then returned to his room to start making talismans. He made talismans in the morning and investigated the matter with Zuolan in the afternoon to look for any other clues. The next day, a pleasant fragrance wafted from the backyard and surprised everyone in the inn. Just a whiff of it made them feel refreshed and clear-minded. Jiang Hao walked to the backyard and saw 2 green bubbles. He felt a bit disappointed. They could only be sold for 14 spirit stones. Clear snow. I didn't expect him to plant that, said Bai Qiong. The previous day they had gone to the heavenly lake and discovered the psychic altar. They decided to follow Jiang Hao's advice and secretly investigate for a few days without alerting the enemy. This spirit herb is not easy to plant. Maybe they just planted it temporarily, Fang Jin said in admiration. He admired Jiang Hao for being able to tend to spirit herbs while pursuing the enemy. After that, they didn't pay much attention to it. Since the sprouting of the clear snow, Jiang Hao made his talismans in the backyard. The spirit herbs would help increase the rate of success. However, he was surprised to find that his success rate had decreased. Hong Yuya was affecting him. His state of mind was unstable, which was one of the reasons. The other reason was that her constant scary aura made it difficult for him to focus on anything else. Chapter 145. Another night passed. In theory, as long as Jiang Hao didn't look at Hong Yuya, his heart and mind would remain calm. However, being close to her still had some effect. Hong Yuya instinctively emitted her aura. It was very subtle, but it was there. It was always there whenever she zoned out and affected Jiang Hao as he sat there trying to make his talismans. He was helpless and decided to head back to his room. He spent most of his time in the backyard when he wasn't making talismans. Jiang Hao was mainly worried that someone would bump into Hong Yuya, and he had no idea what would happen if he wasn't there. To him, Hong Yuya was a terrifying existence that could erupt in anger at any time, but others were unaware of it. Once provoked, the entire inn might be destroyed. There was no shortage of ignorant and arrogant people in the world. Someone might just anger her. That was why Jiang Hao felt worried when he was in the backyard and not with Hong Yuya. Days went by in this manner. Finally, it was nearing the day when Zuolan would perform his ritual. It was tomorrow. During the past few days, Jiang Hao had accompanied Hong Yuya to the backyard, made talismans in the afternoon, and went out to investigate to find more clues about Zuolan. In the evening he brought back some snacks. At night, he focused on studying the third form of the heavenly sword, the meteor technique. He had just finished comprehending it last night. It had great power, but he hadn't tested it yet. It was somewhat difficult to control. Unfortunately, he didn't have more time. Otherwise, he would have at least comprehended the ability to use it more effectively. "You seem to be overthinking things," Hong Yuya said. In the backyard, Jiang Hao was taking care of the snow-clear herbs. Under his care, occasional white bubbles popped up. His spirit was strengthened. However, he didn't want to absorb the bubbles in front of Hong Yuya, so he didn't collect too many bubbles. With Hong Yuya's understanding of the nameless secret manual, she might notice something. But Jiang Hao was puzzled by her words. "Overthinking. You're very cautious," Hong Yuya added. "I'm all right," said Jiang Hao. Although he didn't know what she exactly meant, he had always lived that way. His strength had never been enough, so he had to be very careful, especially since he was in a demonic sect. Hong Yuya looked at Jiang Hao and chuckled. "These past few days, were you worried about others offending me?" "Oh, that's what she means." Jiang Hao nodded. "I was afraid that others might disturb your peace." "Is that so?" Hong Yuya looked at Jiang Hao. "Then let's assume that's what you were thinking about." At that moment, she looked at the teapot on the table. "Let's change the tea." I just brewed it," said Jiang Hao. The Snow Queen spring tea was costly too. He felt it was a bit of a waste to discard the tea. "Take out the best tea leaves you have and brew them." Hong Yuya poured the tea into the bushes. The best tea. Jiang Hao instantly thought of the red azure tea. He hadn't told her that he had bought it already. Jiang Hao feared that she might finish it too soon and would expect him to buy more with the spirit stones he had set aside for other things. He didn't know how she had found out. Helplessly, he took out the red azure tea. "Are you confused?" Hong Yuya smiled. "Heavenly Earth City isn't a very big city. There aren't many people staying in the inn. The red azure tea is very expensive, and it's considered something similar to a precious treasure. If someone buys it, it becomes major news for people here." Hong Yuya looked at Jiang Hao, and her eyes glittered mischievously. Who in the entire Heavenly Earth City would buy something like that? Jiang Hao realized that it had been foolish to think he could hide anything from her at all. He could have said he didn't have it. "Do you think that you would get away by saying you didn't buy it?" Hong Yuya picked up the teacup and sniffed at it. The fragrance of the red azure tea can subtly affect any other tea leaves it's kept with. "You placed the Snow Queen spring tea right next to the red azure tea, didn't you?" Jiang Hao couldn't help but sigh. He needed to keep up with his knowledge of tea. At that moment, the fragrance of the red azure tea emanated from the tea. It was refreshing. After pouring a cup for Hong Yuye, Jiang Hao sat down and poured himself a cup. Jiang Hao had spent 9,300 spirit stones on this tea. He wanted to have a cup. The aroma of the tea permeated the air. Many people in the inn caught a whiff of it too. Even Fang Jin and the two women were surprised by the strong fragrance of the tea. Red azure tea, Lan Jin exclaimed. I've only seen our master brew it before. Who brought such tea here? The fragrance came from the backyard, Bai Qiong said in surprise. Who are they? I don't know what it tastes like, Fang Jin said with some emotion. I'll take advantage of the tea fragrance and cultivate on the second floor. I need to prepare for tomorrow. Tomorrow was the day of the ritual that Jiang Hao had mentioned, and Zuolan would be there. They might find the lost disciple tomorrow. Jiang Hao drank a cup of tea and felt the abundant spiritual energy. The tea was smooth and gentle, and it instantly refreshed his whole body. This made him delighted. Instinctively, he started practicing the third form of the heavenly blade that he hadn't fully grasped yet. This time, the flow of power was smooth, as if the spiritual energy brought by the red azure tea was assisting him. Jiang Hao felt as if he was holding a blade in his hand and swinging it around using the meteor technique. The power circulated within his body, and the technique began to take shape in his mind. As he practiced, Jiang Hao felt that his progress in mastering the third form was becoming faster. He even began practicing the first and second forms. For a while he practiced all three moves. Time passed, and the special effects brought by the red azure tea gradually faded away. The pleasant and refreshing feeling slowly dissipated, but Jiang Hao had gained insights into all three forms of the heavenly blade. When he opened his eyes again, the sun was directly overhead. It felt like time hadn't passed at all. Is it still noon? He asked. Noon of the next day, said Hong Yuye. What? Jiang Hao was surprised. This was the day that Zuolan would appear at the altar. Although he knew Zuolan would make a move today, he wasn't certain about the time. It could be in the morning or the evening. Jiang Hao had already missed the morning. He had wasted precious time. Senior, we should set off, he said. This time they had accurate information about Zuolan. Hong Yuye wanted the stone tablet as soon as possible, so she would definitely go. As Hong Yuye stood up, Jiang Hao took the teapot and looked at the tea leaves inside, thinking of using them to nourish the soil. Drinking a cup greatly enhanced his understanding of the heavenly blade. He could now freely use the third form. He wondered if it would have the same effect next time. After a moment, he checked his divine abilities and the attacks stored on his wrist guard. Jiang Hao and Hong Yuye left the inn. In the forest, the sun shone through the tree leaves. Jiang Hao and Hong Yuye stood beneath the tree, looking at a distant building. That was where the altar was located. There was a window that provided a view of the inside, but so far, there was no sign of any activity. We may have to wait until evening, Jiang Hao said. Hong Yuye leaped and sat on a tree branch. It was too conspicuous, and Jiang Hao wanted to warn her to not attract attention. However, he didn't dare say that aloud. It made sense that she wanted to sit on a branch. That way nobody would notice her. At night, moonlight spilled from the sky, covering the pitch-black forest with a silvery veil. Jiang Hao looked up at the moonlight, then looked in the direction of the altar. He noticed that the altar emitted a faint glow under the moonlight. It seemed that the power was being activated, but it was still not strong enough. At that moment he sensed someone approaching the altar. He's here. Chapter 146. What can you do to me? Hong Yuye sat on a tree branch, gazing into the distance. Jiang Hao stood beneath the tree. He felt that Hong Yuye belonged to the red shadow in the darkness. It was an eerie thought. Jiang Hao didn't pay attention to Hong Yuye but focused on the direction of the building. His own position was somewhat conspicuous, but the fact that Hong Yuye was sitting on the tree branch made him feel that he wouldn't be noticed standing beneath the tree. As for other things, Jiang Hao had made a preliminary observation and hadn't found Fang Jin and the others so far. He didn't know where they were hiding. Behave and spare yourselves the pain. In front of the building, 4 adult men escorted a group of children in black hoods. Jiang Hao observed them carefully. 9 children and 5 adults. Among the 5 adults, 4 were escorts while the 5th one walked at the back. The 4 at the front were at various stages of the Golden Core Realm. The one at the back was at the peak stage OT the Golden Core Realm, but his aura was strange. They're strong? Jiang Hao was surprised. The 5 people were very powerful. He assumed the person walking at the back must be Zuolan, but is he still a clone? Where is his true body? Jiang Hao said, looking up at the woman on the tree branch. You don't need to ask me. Make your own decisions and do what you need to do. I will not interfere, said Hong Yuye. Jiang Hao wasn't surprised at her response. If even the Golden Core cultivators required Hong Yuye to take action, there would be no need to bring anyone along. The four in front are not clones, but I don't feel any mental connection with the fifth one. This means Zuolan is hiding, and that is indeed a clone. Is he going to wait for the final power to appear before coming out? Will I still have time to make a move at that point? It was going to be a difficult battle since most of the adults were in the Golden Core realm. Although he hoped for a challenging fight, it would be best to crush the enemy with a single strike. Subconsciously he touched his eyebrow. There were no issues with his divine ability. The reappearance of the hidden spirit ability would be his greatest trump card for tonight. Whether he could take down Zuolan or not would depend on this ability. The 9 children were led to the side of the altar. Their heads were covered with black hoods, so Jiang Hao couldn't be sure whether there was a girl among them. Everyone wore similar clothes. It seemed that the disciple of the Bright Moon sect was also from a poor family. Stand still. Don't move. You die if you struggle, said a man as he kicked a child. From afar, Jiang Hao heard the children whimper in fear. He waited quietly. Once the children were bound, a man took out a knife and tried to cut their wrists. Jiang Hao saw a sword light flash in the distance. You scum from the demonic sect. It was Lan Jin. Jiang Hao remained calm and watched quietly from afar. The demonic sects had a bad reputation. Even the Heavenly Note sect was notorious in its actions. That was one of the reasons why Jiang Hao wanted to clear his name as soon as possible. It was quite troublesome to carry the name of the Heavenly Note sect and venture to other places. The Heavenly Note sect wasn't a small sect, but it wasn't that great either. If it was as big as the Clear Sky School, it would be much better. Boom. Lan Jin took action. There were surprise attacks from 2 other locations near the building. So, the first one was a decoy, Jiang Hao thought. Fang Jin had injured a Golden Core Realm cultivator. Although it wasn't a severe injury, it still gave Fang Jin an advantage in the fight. The situation was far better for Bai Qiong. It seemed that the late-stage Golden Realm cultivator was no match for her. Among Zuolan's group, there was more than one cultivator in the peak stage of the Golden Core Realm. At this moment, Zuolan himself was cutting the children. Jiang Hao watched without taking any action. Zuolan's true body had not yet appeared, so he couldn't be impatient. If the true Zuolan didn't appear, he wouldn't find the stone tablet here. Boom. The aftermath of the battle shook the building and exposed the entire altar to the moonlight. Fang Jin looked at the activated altar impatiently. He was unsure what Zuolan meant to do. The one at the peak of Golden Core Realm held on. It wasn't difficult to defeat this opponent, but it would take quite a while. He didn't have time to waste. Lan Jin, who was fighting against 2 early-stage Golden Core Realm cultivators, called for help. She was at a disadvantage as she was fighting them alone. Although she had outstanding strength and powerful treasures, she lacked combat experience. Sister, don't be nervous. They are not your match. Keep your mind steady and analyze their movements. Think about the body techniques and sword techniques you know. Apply them and you'll be able to defeat those 2 easily. They are not strong, Fang Jin said to her. Not strong, said one of the early-stage Golden Core Realm cultivators and laughed. A bunch of children would be enough to deal with this little girl. They knew that if she got accustomed to their attacks, they would be in danger. Her spirit sword was far too powerful. Sister, hold on a little longer. Bai Qiong applied her magic seal and suppressed the enemy with the power of her techniques. She manipulated thunder, and electric light swept from all directions like multiple swords. However, it did nothing to the altar. Fang Jin was somewhat puzzled. He still hadn't seen Jiang Hao anywhere. He didn't know if Jiang Hao was hiding somewhere, or if he hadn't arrived at all. The people of the Bright Moon sect are nothing special. Zuolan looked at Fang Jin from the altar. I even prepared other methods, but it seems they won't be necessary. Zuolan, do you know that one of the disciples among your captives is our sect's disciple? Asked Fang Jin. His hands clenched on his sword, and it exerted even stronger pressure on the Golden Core Realm cultivator he was fighting. I know. What does it matter? What can you even do to me? Said Zuolan. I heard that the Heavenly Note sect also plans to snatch her away. If I sell her to them, I will get a substantial amount of spirit stones, won't I? Zualan activated the altar. I'm guessing that you'll definitely be blackmailed by the Heavenly Note sect and killed, said Longjin. Thanks for the warning. Maybe I'll sell her elsewhere, Zualan said with a grateful smile. You. Longjin was furious. Zualan calmly took out the stone tablet and placed it on the altar. The others didn't react, but Jiang Hao was finally interested. The stone tablet looked similar to the ones he had. However, Jiang Hao sensed a slight difference in the aura of the tablet. Is it a fake? Jiang Hao couldn't understand. Can a fake stone tablet still serve as a medium? He used the technique he learned from the Nameless Manual to observe and analyze the stone tablet. He found that it seemed to be connected to something. Is the fake stone tablet connected to the real one and used as a medium? Jiang Hao was shocked. Zualan was this cautious? Chapter 147, Instant Kill. Seeing the fake stone tablet resonate with the real one, Jiang Hao knew that the real stone tablet was nearby. If he captured the real person, he might get more information. However, it would be difficult to identify him. Should I use the stone tablet to investigate? It might alert the enemy, and the distance was not close enough to pinpoint the exact location. If the enemy became aware, who knows what would happen. If he fled, it would be difficult to find him again. At present, the altar held little value for Jiang Hao. He decided to wait. Since Zualan sought the power of the primordial spirit realm, he might appear when the power manifested in the altar. Jiang Hao glanced at Hong Yuya. He wanted to tell her that being cautious was normal. Even Zualan was being very cautious. Hong Yuya saw through his thoughts. Are you trying to tell me that most people are cautious? Yes. There are always stronger enemies around, so it helps to be on guard. It's different. Hong Yuya gently shook her head. You are fundamentally different from him. You don't want to offend anyone, nor do you want others to pay attention to you. Zualan is quite the opposite. He is not afraid of trouble or being watched. He considers himself clever and wise and unafraid of being found out. He leaves no room for errors. He is confident enough to enjoy himself. Confident. Jiang Hao looked at the altar as it began to emit light. He finally understood. Zualan knew that the people from the Bright Moon sect would appear. He also knew that other owners of the stone tablets were in the Heavenly Earth City. Yet, he had gone ahead with the preparations and conducted the ceremony on the altar. He successfully held back Fang Jin and the others, initiating his final plan right under their noses. He had made all the preparations beforehand. While being cautious, he also seemed to have enough confidence in himself. Understanding this, Jiang Hao decided to work harder in improving his cultivation in the future. Boom. Fang Jin kept unleashing powerful spells and bombarding the surroundings. He saw the altar fully activate and gather an immensely powerful force within it. Once this power condensed completely, he didn't know if they could get out alive, let alone rescue the disciple from their sect. Junior sister by attack. Fang Jin said. Bai Qiong understood. She stepped back and muttered something. Thunder needles penetrated the surroundings of the building. She flew into the air, her long hair swaying in the wind. Thunder radiated from her body and surged in the sky. Then thunderous roars echoed and hit the ground. The heavenly thunder formation. Bai Qiong shouted, and countless thunderbolts came from the earth, resonating with the thunder in the clouds. Boom. They collided in the sky. Countless thunderbolts covered the entire building and attacked the altar. You set up the heavenly thunder formation here? I thought you had some hidden cards. Zualan sneered, standing atop the altar. His body emitted light, and a new power surged in the surrounding, which was driven by his will. Faced with this thunder formation, Zualan merely made a pinching gesture. The stone pillars around the altar began to glow with a blood-red light. The light converged into a barrier that covered the altar. Boom. The thunder struck down. The 9 children bound to the stone pillars screamed. This blood demonic formation uses their blood as a trigger. Keep attacking, and when their blood runs out, the formation will break, Zualan said to Bai Qiong. Bai Qiong found herself in a dilemma. She hesitated. Right then, something struck her. Your weaknesses are too apparent. Zualan sneered. Do you know why these 9 children are covered in black hoods? I made it so that you won't be able to recognize the one from your sect. What if your disciple was never here? Ah. Fang Jin frowned. The tremendous power of the altar made them stop. If the enemy could control that kind of power, they had no other means to fight him. You aren't stupid. I'll grant you that. But you aren't very clever either, said Zuolan. There should be someone else with you. Why hasn't he arrived yet? I've made many preparations to welcome him. I hope he hasn't run off. By now, he had absorbed the majority of the power, and the aura of the primordial spirit realm emanated from him. Fang Jin felt helpless. However, he was also curious. Where was Jiang Hao? What was he waiting for? Lan Jin still didn't believe that Jiang Hao was that strong, so she wasn't surprised that he was hiding. If they don't want to come out, then so be it. Zuolan crouched down and placed his hand on the stone tablet. Jiang Hao narrowed his eyes. The clone intended to transmit the power of the primordial spirit realm to the original body. Although he didn't understand the nature of this power, he had to be cautious. He needed to capture the direction of the power's aura and prevent the fusion with the original body. He couldn't let Zuolan's original body obtain that kind of power. Just as Jiang Hao prepared to make a move, he discovered that the power of the primordial spirit realm was moving toward the bottom of the altar and was getting absorbed instantly. A powerful force burst forth from beneath the altar. Zuolan is right under the altar. Jiang Hao felt a bit disappointed in himself. It was too late. He could sense that the altar itself was covered in numerous formations, but he didn't expect someone to be hidden within it. Boom. The power of the primordial spirit realm erupted. The altar couldn't withstand so much power, so it exploded. A continuous roar shattered the altar, and debris flew in all directions. The first to bear the brunt of it all were the children. Oh no! Fang Jin and the others wanted to rescue them. The children were suffering. However, they were stopped by Zuolan's men. At that time, 9 spirit swords suddenly descended from the sky and landed in front of the 9 children with a loud bang. They blocked the flying debris. Who is it? One of Zuolan's men asked. Bai Qiong noticed a person standing behind him, aiming his at the man's neck. The dagger flew and embedded itself in the neck of the man. The man attempted to escape, but another spirit sword appeared in front of him and pierced through his chest. Who? Gurgled the man as blood flowed out from his neck. Who is it? Another spirit sword stabbed into his back. It pierced through his body. He coughed up a mouthful of blood. His face filled with terror. Then, one after another, numerous spirit swords appeared from all directions and impaled themselves into the man. Only then did Jiang Hao arrive before him, and he slowly grabbed his storage treasure. Don't worry. You won't die alone. Chapter 148. Crushing Zuolan with absolute strength. Bai Qiong was rooted to the spot. The person had taken only a span of a few breaths to kill the man. She found it unbelievable as she looked at Jiang Hao. What cultivation realm is he in? Both Fang Jin and Lan Jin had stopped fighting. They stepped back, surprised by Jiang Hao's arrival. Why has he appeared now? The power of the primordial spirit realm was already released. There was no time. You finally came. Were you waiting for me? Asked Zuolan. This time the real Zuolan was present. Primordial spirit realm. Jiang Hao sighed inwardly. He didn't want to fight someone in the primordial spirit realm. Among the enemies he had faced till now, Zuolan seemed the strongest. Jiang Hao wasn't confident. If Hong Yuye didn't help, he had no choice but to fight alone. He didn't know if Hong Yuye would intervene after his defeat. I came for the stone tablet. Jiang Hao looked at Zuolan. Zuolan appeared to be in his late 20s, with a pale complexion and well-defined facial features. His tall figure exuded strong spiritual energy. Peak of the Golden Core realm? Zuolan looked at Jiang Hao in disdain. Do you plan to snatch the stone tablet from my hands? Coincidentally, there is something I want from you. Your presence has disrupted our plan. You think you came looking for me, but I have been the one looking for you all this time. Jiang Hao sighed in his heart. Who is the person behind you? You'll know when you meet them. Zuolan looked at Jiang Hao disdainfully. You're lucky. If it was up to me, I would have just killed you. Jiang Hao lowered his head. He wanted to launch a sneak attack, but Zuolan's clone was behind him. There was no opportunity for a surprise attack. He could only confront him head-on. As for the stone tablet, he didn't ask for it. If he won, it would be in his hands. If he lost, it would be meaningless to ask anything at all. He would be dead. Zuolan didn't make a move, but he turned to look at Fang Jin and the others. All of you from the Bright Moon sect can leave with your disciple. I'm not interested in you anymore. I don't believe your words. Fang Jin didn't hesitate and got ready to attack. Bai Qiong and Lan Jin followed suit. At this moment, one person at the peak of the Golden Core Realm and two others in the early stage of the Golden Core Realm moved toward Jiang Hao. Fang Jin swung his long sword. Bai Qiong attempted to activate the thunderstorm formation again. Lan Jin gritted her teeth and raised her sword. However, just as they were about to attack, a blade light suddenly swept past their eyes. It was the third form of the heavenly blade technique, the meteor. Clang. The blade resembled the shadow of the moon. It flew like a shooting star. Jiang Hao appeared in front of the person in the peak of the Golden Core Realm. He slashed at him. He was killed with a single slash. The blade did not stop at that. It reappeared in front of the other two in the early stage of the Golden Core Realm. The blade passed like a meteor rain. In just a couple of slashes, the two cultivators were instantly beheaded. The third form of the heavenly blade technique, combined with various footwork and blade techniques, allowed him to swiftly approach the enemy, kill them, and then proceed to another. Just one slash could kill 7 people consecutively. When he reached the fourth person, Jiang Hao circulated the Hongmeng Heart Sutra at full force. He arrived in front of Zuolan, who was in the primordial spirit realm. Reappearance of the hidden spirit. The power of the peak of the Golden Core Realm appeared from the center of his forehead and fused in his body. He intended to use the third form of heavenly blade again. At the same time, purple energy emerged and spread across his entire body, covering the blade in his hand. Slash. Jiang Hao used his strongest power to unleash a powerful slash. The meteor technique's speed was unrealistic. Zuolan couldn't even recognize it until Jiang Hao was right in front of him. Zuolan didn't dare underestimate the enemy and used his defensive magic treasure. Boom. Crack. Bang. The purple energy swept and shattered the defensive magic treasure. The blade slashed Zuolan's arm. With a bang, Zuolan was sent flying. Blood poured out from his arm. He was heavily wounded by the slash. Everyone was stunned. Jiang Hao's attack and Zuolan's injury had happened in a blink of an eye. It had all been too fast. Jiang Hao didn't stop. After knocking Zuolan away, he landed beside Zuolan's clone. Without hesitation, a long spear appeared in his hand, covered by the purple energy. He then struck it. Zuolan's clone didn't even have time to react when Jiang Hao's spear shattered its skull. The purple energy surged. Jiang Hao launched another attack. This time he used the first form, Moonslaying. Moonlight flashed past. This time Zuolan began to counterattack. He swung his 8-sided sword to fight Jiang Hao. "You're not in the Golden Core Realm," said Zuolan. "No. I don't believe someone at the Golden Core Realm can be my match in a fight." Clang. Power erupted as the saber and the sword collided. Jiang Hao was enveloped in TNE purple aura, suppressing MS opponent WITN over Nem roars. A slash forced the opponent back. He then used the second form of the heavenly blade, Mountain Suppression. With a bang, the surrounding buildings and trees instantly turned into rubble. Despite being heavily injured by Mountain Suppression, Zuolan swung his sword toward Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao used the third form of the heavenly blade, the meteor. He flitted out of the way. He appeared in front of Zuolan again and slashed at him. The 8-sided sword cracked. Jiang Hao disappeared once again, only to reappear behind Zuolan. The second slash came unexpectedly, striking his neck. Blood gushed out. Zuolan clutched his neck in horror. "How is this possible? Who are you?" Even as someone in the primordial spirit realm, he was getting crushed by an opponent in the Golden Core Realm. At this moment, a meteor flashed by. Before anyone could react, a long knife pierced through Zuolan's chest. Several knives flitted past and impaled themselves on Zuolan's sides and back. When the meteor dissipated, Zuolan was heavily wounded. He was kneeling on the ground. Jiang Hao stood in front of him, activating his wrist guard to use Mountain Suppression. A scream of agony echoed in the air. As a crushing strength pinned him down, Zuolan's blood splattered everywhere. Jiang Hao withdrew the purple energy and sheathed his blade. His half-moon blade was filled with cracks. He sighed. At this moment he was overcome by exhaustion briefly. It was all because of the nameless manual that he had been able to mask himself. As expected, facing someone in the primordial spirit realm was too much work. He couldn't be this reckless in the future. Fortunately, Zuolan hadn't had the time to refine his cultivation. Otherwise, Jiang Hao would have been in trouble. Of course, he still retained one trump card. He hadn't revealed his primordial heavenly sword, Shiyu. "Now, can you start answering my questions?" said Jiang Hao indifferently. At this moment, the three people from the Bright Moon sect came back to their senses. Lan Jin's face was filled with fear as she looked at Jiang Hao under the moonlight. The figure standing on corpses was a terrifying existence. She wanted to hide behind her seniors. His indifference and calmness made her even more scared. How could someone in the Golden Core realm kill someone in the Primordial Spirit realm? At that moment, she finally understood what her senior brother had meant when he said that one had to keep a low profile and try to befriend others outside the sect. If she had somehow offended this person, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Lan Jin felt fortunate that she had followed her senior's advice. Fang Jin and Bai Qiong were equally shocked. Jiang Hao's immense strength was awe-inspiring. Chapter 149, Taking Stock of the Gains. Jiang Hao stood in front of Zuolan. He then turned his head to look at Fang Jin and the others. Lan Jin trembled in fear. Fang Jin and Bai Qiong felt their scalps tingling. "You should focus on saving your disciple first," Jiang Hao said to them. The 9 children were still bleeding at the altar. If left unattended, their lives would be in danger. Fang Jin and the others finally snapped out of it. "Thank you, Disciple Jiang. We've been careless," Fang Jin said. The 3 of them went to rescue the children, hoping to see their junior sister among them. Jiang Hao turned back to Zuolan. At this moment, Hong Yuye appeared by his side. Jiang Hao picked up Zuolan's storage treasure. Fortunately, Zuolan had withstood the impact of the mountain suppression technique to some extent. His storage treasure was undamaged. Jiang Hao found 5,000 spirit stones inside, along with a stone tablet and a book. 5,000 more. He handed the stone tablet to Hong Yuye. She put it somewhere out of sight and looked at Jiang Hao. "Give me the other 2 as well," she said. Jiang Hao knew she wanted to combine the 3 tablets. After handing over the stone tablets, he turned to the injured Zuolan. "What was your purpose in coming here?" "Purpose?" Zuolan coughed blood. He struggled to speak, but the desire to survive was clear in his eyes. "Will you spare my life if I tell you?" Jiang Hao didn't answer. He simply stared at Zuolan. Zuolan chuckled and felt his consciousness grow fuzzy. His vitality was dissipating. No matter what happened now, he would die. "I was here to investigate the Heavenly Note sect," he said weakly. "Why?" Jiang Hao was confused. Other than the Heavenly Fragrance Dao flower, what else was worth investigating in the Heavenly Note sect? The mining site. That was the only thing Jiang Hao could think of. "We are only following orders. Each person who possesses a stone tablet has a different mission." Zuolan's voice was soft. "My mission was merely to find out about the history of the Heavenly Note sect." "Who are you taking orders from?" Jiang Hao wasn't particularly interested in the history of the Heavenly Note sect. However, Zuolan's investigation might be related to the book Jiang Hao had found in his storage treasure. He planned to check it later. Zuolan was in a weakened state. His head was lowered and blood flowed from his mouth. I have a question," he said weakly. "What is it?" Jiang Hao asked. "What cultivation realm are you at?" Zuolan made an effort to look at Jiang Hao. "Are you in the primordial spirit realm?" "I'm at the peak of the Golden Core realm," said Jiang Hao truthfully. "You will be killed," Zuolan said. "There are many people in this world who envy geniuses, many." "I know," Jiang Hao said. That was why he didn't want to attract attention and preferred to cultivate quietly. When he became invincible, he wouldn't have to worry anymore. Unfortunately, Hong Yuye had already discovered his cultivation realm now. Jiang Hao didn't know if she would make a move against him soon. He still needed some cards up his sleeve. "Zuoyutian," said Zuolan. "Is he from the Great Thousand God sect too?" Jiang Hao asked. "Yeah." Zuolan's aura was fading away. "It's him. We were given orders by him, but I don't know about the others." Jiang Hao nodded. "Where are the other stone tablets?" "They probably escaped," Zuolan said. His voice became fainter and fainter. "Do you know who crafted the stone tablets?" "No, I don't know." Jiang Hao looked at Zuolan and remained silent. He was dead. Jiang Hao sighed and turned to look at Hong Yuye. "Senior, do you know anything about Zuoyutian?" Hong Yuye shook her head. "Let's go back." Jiang Hao nodded. There was nothing for them here anymore. After taking away the storage treasures from the enemies, He stabbed the bodies 2 more times to make sure they were really dead. Then he bid farewell to an astonished Fang Jin and the others before disappearing into the woods. Meanwhile, Fang Jin and his group managed to rescue the 9 children. Their junior sister was among them too. After several setbacks, they finally met the disciples stolen from their sect. However, a little boy by her side worried them. However, what worried them the most was Jiang Hao. His motive and purpose weren't as simple as they had thought. They didn't question too much. Fortunately, they weren't at odds with Jiang Hao. They were somewhat friendly at this point. For the next 3 days, don't disturb me, said Hong Yuye before she went into her room and closed the door. Jiang Hao was happy for some leisure time. 3 days without worrying about Hong Yuye was akin to a holiday for him. But he couldn't stray too far from Heavenly Earth City, as it would be easy for others to discover his location. During these 3 days, he planned to explore the city, but the immediate priority was to examine the gains from the recent encounter. Perhaps tonight was another night of obtaining sudden wealth for him. Jiang Hao began to take stock of his spirit stones. He had around 3,806 spirit stones on him. Now, with Zuolan's defeat, he had found 5,101 spirit stones in his storage treasure. In addition, there was a book of records. Jiang Hao placed the book on the table and organized the spirit stones. After putting the spirit stones into his own storage treasure, he opened the clone Zuolan's storage treasure but found nothing inside. That's weird, muttered Jiang Hao. There should be more. There should at least be something inside. 5,000 spirit stones was a lot of money. Zuolan was good at making money, but he must have spent a lot, considering everything he had done. Jiang Hao was already satisfied with the amount he had now, but he was puzzled that he found no other treasures at all. Does he have a stronghold somewhere else? What a pity, not even one person survived. Jiang Hao proceeded to inspect the storage treasures he had picked up from the other 4 Golden Core Realm cultivators. They weren't particularly wealthy either, with one having 926 spirit stones and the other having 1,103 spirit stones. They were poor too. Jiang Hao realized that the Golden Core Realm cultivators from the Heavenly Note sect were much wealthier. After all, being affiliated with the Heavenly Note sect granted them access to some cultivation resources, while these individuals had to constantly purchase resources with their own spirit stones. It made sense that they were poor unless they accumulated spirit stones for several years like Shirexian. The 2 cultivators' storage treasures contained some other items. There were foundation building pills as well as some average quality treasures, along with a few healing talismans. Together they could be sold for around 300 to 500 spirit stones. Next, he opened the storage treasure that belonged to the late-stage Golden Core Realm cultivator and found that this person wasn't much better off than the previous 2. They had 1,300 spirit stones, a decent quality foundation building spirit sword, and 2 bottles of commonly used pills for the mid-stage Golden Core Realm. These items were worth around 1,000 to 2,000 spirit stones. There wasn't much else of value. Finally, he took out the storage treasure that once belonged to the peak Golden Core Realm cultivator. Upon inspection, he found no spirit stones inside. However, there was a note. The first line read, "I know that I may not come back alive this time, so I have hidden all the valuable things elsewhere." Jiang Hao was taken aback. He had never expected to encounter someone like this in the cultivation world. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.